Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Evil Sailing Group. My crew is from another world. Chapter 1. In the middle of the night, the kingdom of New Orake is full of flames. The crisp sound of clashing fine iron, the sound of shouting and killing, and the sound of wailing broke the inherent tranquility of the night. A group of more than 100 pirates is advancing towards the palace of New Orake Kingdom. The kingdom soldiers who came to stop them were slashed and killed by them. Little ones, work harder, the palace is right in front of us. As long as we kill them all the treasures in the kingdom's treasury will be ours. Wearing a blue captain's costume and holding a big knife, the pirate yelled at the hundreds of crew members around him. With this shout, the morale of the crew members soared like chicken blood, and they raised their weapons and shouted, "Treasure! Treasure! Kill them all! Come on!" Seeing the high morale of his men, the captain also had an excited smile on his face. Attacking the kingdom, this is really a crazy move. If it were before, they would not even dare to think about it. After all, there are more than 100 people, and they are no more than the kingdom's teeth. But this time is different. They have internal support, or it is more appropriate to have the support of former royal family members. Sure enough, it's much easier to attack according to the route given by Van Jins. According to this progress, we will soon be able to break into the palace. The treasury's treasure will soon be mine. Saying so, the captain quickened his pace and followed the attacking team. At the same time, in the palace, a young man wearing a crown and gorgeous clothes was standing in front of the window, looking at the place where the battle took place. "Has my brother not appeared yet?" Hearing this, the young people are behind. A middle-aged man with a fat body suddenly said with a flattering face, "Van Jins, I think he has been frightened out of his wits. Once the old king dies, he will lose his protection. How dare he appear in front of you now?" Hearing the middle-aged man's words, a smile appeared on the young man's face. His eyes turned to the place where the battle took place again. "It's a pity. Fortunately, I specially prepared a big gift for him. If he doesn't show up, it will be boring." With that said, the young man turned his head to look at the middle-aged man behind him, and said lightly, "Let the ambushing soldiers go out. Those despicable pirates are really disgusting." "Yes," the middle-aged man responded and stepped back quickly. At the same time, in a house in the town, Van Jins, or Zhang Jie, is standing by the window at the moment, admiring the fires in the city. Beside him stood a young man with a long knife on his back. At the rear, there stood a man and a woman, and 2 guards in armor. A series of prompts from the system kept echoing in Zhang Jie's mind. Ding! Congratulations to host for getting +2 combat value. Ding! Congratulations to host for gaining combat value +5. Ding! Congratulations to host for getting +1 combat value. Host: Zhang Jie. Battle value 147. Ability Armament Hockey Top, Observation Hockey Top, Conquerors Hockey Top. Skills Swordsmanship Advanced, Physical Art Advanced. Item None. Warrior Yigu Yutai to obtain the Blessing of the Battle. Blessing of Conquest. The strength is enhanced, and the top-level armed color and top-level knowledge color are mastered. Lottery entrance. It was also when Zhang Jie was looking at his own property panel. The guard named Darth standing behind him suddenly spoke persuasively. "Your Highness, let's evacuate quickly. His Highness Tryon has almost controlled the entire kingdom. With our current strength, we cannot defeat him." Hearing this, the female guard named Erica also echoed, "Yes, Your Highness, the most important thing is that you are alive, and Princess Elsa's painstaking efforts cannot be wasted." Hearing the persuasion of the 2 guards, Zhang Jie turned his head calmly. "Don't call me Your Highness anymore, the king has already expelled me from the royal family. And, I even gave myself a new name, called Zhang Jie, isn't it nice?" Zhang Jie, that was his name before time travel. But when the 2 guards heard this, their pupils shrank in fright, and they exclaimed in surprise, "His Royal Highness Fan Jinsi. This is not acceptable. How can you give up on yourself? You acted too impulsively. His Majesty the King wanted to protect you. It's imperative to do so." Zhang Jie frowned, glanced at the 2 noisy guards, and didn't bother to talk to them anymore. A few months ago, he traveled across to this world of pirates that he is all too familiar with. Became the eldest prince of New Orake Kingdom, Fan Jinsi New Orake. There is also a brother and a sister. The younger brother is called Tryon Norrake, and the younger sister is Elsa Norrake. Tryon and Vankins have been vying for the crown prince position. As the eldest son, Van Jins has a natural advantage, but Tryon's voice is not small. Both of them are vying for and calculating each other openly and secretly. After Zhang Jie came to this world and took over Van Jin's body, the situation began to change drastically. Zhang Jie broke Vankins' original cautious style of acting, and became freewheeling. And this was also seized by Tryon, who repeatedly calculated Zhang Jie. Although Zhang Jie is not interested in the position of crown prince, being calculated all the time also makes him a little annoyed. Zhang Jie, who was busy collecting information and confirming the world, had no time to deal with Tryon's mess. And this also caused the people of the Tryon faction to become more and more rampant. Even people from the Fanjin's faction defected to Tryon's men because of this. It was nothing. After all, Zhang Jie didn't care if these people went or stayed. Until the arrival of a banquet, Zhang Jie, who had not made any obvious movements, was regarded as a paper tiger by the ministers of the Tryon faction. Even with the status of the eldest prince, they still dared to openly ridicule Zhang Jie. If it were Van Jin's, maybe he would have to endure it. After all, Tryon was stronger than others, and Vankins could not take advantage of it, and he might be caught if he was not careful. If you want the throne of the king, you have to be patient, and you can't be arrogant. But Zhang Jie, who doesn't care about the throne himself, is different. Being so blatantly ridiculed, how could he be so angry? He drew his sword and chopped off the heads of 4 or 5 ministers on the spot. If it wasn't for being stopped by the guards, all those ministers who were nagging would have been hacked to death by Zhang Jie. As for the consequences of killing the minister, it was Zhang Jie who was accused and scolded by many ministers, and then the king was furious and expelled Zhang Jie from the royal family to calm down. In the battle between the two for the crown prince position, Tryon finally declared victory. This is not over yet. After Zhang Jie was expelled from the royal family, Tryon started to act secretly again. And within a month, they sent people one after another, trying to kill Zhang Jie secretly. But unfortunately, the people sent by Tryon were not only killed by Zhang Jie and his guards. It also allowed Zhang Jie to obtain a large number of conquest points and the top conqueror's hockey, and at the same time summoned a conqueror from all worlds, the pure love god of war Yijiu Yutai. Tryon saw that the dark power could not kill Zhang Jie. So he murdered the king and put the blame on Zhang Jie. It is said that Zhang Jie had a grudge and assassinated the king. Then he clearly dispatched troops to chase and kill Zhang Jie. As soon as the news of the king's death came out this morning, Tryon simultaneously closed the ports he entered and exited, restricting all ships from leaving. And there is a curfew in the whole city, no one can go out at night until Zhang Jie is caught. Seeing that Zhang Jie was indifferent to persuasion, Erica turned her attention to Yijiu Yutai who was beside Zhang Jie. Hey, you also say a few words to persuade your highness. Yi Guyu, who was lying on the gun suddenly, was too stunned, as if he couldn't react. Then he pointed to himself, and confirmed to Erica with some doubts. Seeing that it was at this juncture, Yi Guyu still looked like he didn't understand the situation. Erica suddenly became even more annoyed. Who else could it be if it wasn't you? I really don't understand. How did you come to His Highness's side, and how could His Highness take a fancy to such a fool like you? Listening to Erica's complaints, Yi Guyu was not angry, but just smiled awkwardly. I don't know what to say. And I think, don't you need to run? Erica panicked. But before she finished speaking, Zhang Jie interrupted in a cold voice. Give me some peace. Erica gritted her teeth, and finally could only wave her hands angrily. As for Zhang Jie, he looked sideways at Yijiu Yutai and reminded him. It's not good for you to look harmless to humans and animals. It will make people think you are easy to bully. Yijiu Yutai was slightly taken aback, somewhat puzzled. It's easy to bully. No one will bully me, right? Zhang Jie looked at Yijiu Yutai in silence. Oh, well, I was worrying too much, your heart is bigger than the sky. Sighing silently in his heart, Zhang Jie looked back at the town full of flames. After hearing Zhang Jie's words, Erica in the rear almost vomited blood. What is bullying? When did you bully that kid? And this guy who has only been here for less than a month, what is he? Why can you get His Highness's favor? How long has he been here? His Highness is protecting him everywhere. My protection for 7 or 8 years can't compare to this kid's few words of slander. Thinking of this, Erica was even more dissatisfied. Your Highness, please forgive me, you don't really want to use those pirates to bring down His Highness Tryon, do you? Not to mention how weak those despicable pirates are, how could they be able to defeat the kingdom's army with more than 100 of them? Just sending out a night order by the way is enough to wipe out all these pirates. Listening to Erica, who was still chattering, Zhang Jie was obviously a little upset. But seeing that she had been faithfully serving him during the past few months of his arrival, Zhang Jie still held back the idea of shutting her up completely. The pirate group of more than 100 people really has an indistinct relationship with Zhang Jie. Because he was the one who encouraged those pirates to attack the palace. But it would be wrong to say that Zhang Jie wanted to rely on their strength. Zhang Jie and the pirates are obviously allies. But in fact, Zhang Jie didn't take them seriously at all. In Zhang Jie's eyes, these pirates were not even cannon fodder. The reason why they were encouraged to attack the palace was just because of Zhang Jie's whim and wanted to see the outbreak of war. All of this is out of interest. If Zhang Jie has any capital to be so rampant, then his own strength is his capital, and the top conqueror's haki is his capital. Yi Ji Yu Yutai is his capital. In the past few months in Nuo Rake, Zhang Jie has long been clear about the level of the kingdom's strength. In the huge kingdom, there is not even a single person who has mastered haki. Not to mention that Yi Ji Yu is too worried, even Zhang Jie has enough strength and confidence to destroy this entire country. In the face of absolute strength, no matter how many soldiers and horses there are, it is just a number. Just at this time, the system prompt that had been echoing in Zhang Jie's mind suddenly disappeared. Zhang Jie immediately understood that the pirate group of more than 100 people was probably killed by the army of the kingdom. A smile appeared on his face, and Zhang Jie checked his attribute panel again. At this time, the battle value has exceeded 200, reaching 213. It took more than 100 people to produce this combat value, they are weak enough. Zhang Jie murmured to himself. The more intense the battle and the stronger the enemy, the more battle points the system will give back. Zhang Jie has already figured out this point. However, although both the pirates and the kingdom are weak, at least they have produced a little bit of value. More than 200 battle points, just enough for him to draw a prize once. Entering the lottery page of the system, Zhang Jie decisively started the lottery draw. Ding. Battle value minus 200. Ding. Congratulations to host for summoning the conqueror from Hokage world Uchiha Obito. Ding. Congratulations to host for obtaining the ability of conqueror, Kamui space. Host. Zhang Jie. Battle value 13. Ability armament haki top, observation haki top, conqueror's haki top. Skills swordsmanship advanced, physical art advanced. Item none. Conqueror. Obito Yuta, Uchiha Obito. Lottery entrance. Hearing the series of prompts from the system, a smile appeared on Zhang Jie's face. Although one of the abilities of the conqueror can be obtained, it is within Zhang Jie's expectation. But it was undoubtedly a big surprise to get the Kamui space. Coupled with Yigu Yutai's reversal technique, Zhang Jie has mastered 2 heaven-defying abilities. There are also 2 powerful fighters, Obito and Yuta. Even if you face one of the 4 emperors, even if you can't beat the opponent's entire group, it's completely useless. Now that the group of pirates can no longer fight, it's time for them to leave. Put an end to this matter. In the kingdom of Norarake, the delay has been too long. During this time, Zhang Jie has not left Nuo Rake. One is because Tryon has not been killed yet, and the other is because of bad taste. He wanted Tryon to feel the joy that the victory was right in front of him, the throne was right in front of him, and the mountaintop was right in front of him. Then, destroy his joy and hope together. He stepped on Tryon, who was about to reach the top of the mountain, and plunged into the abyss. Presumably at that time, Tryon's expression should be very interesting, right? Thoughts fluctuate in my heart. A playful smile appeared on Zhang Jie's face. Let's go. It's time for us to play. Zhang Jie turned around slowly and walked out of the room. Seeing this, Yi Ji Yu Yutai followed immediately. But Erica and Das on the side were stunned. Walk. Appearance. Where is this going? With doubts in his mind, Das asked quickly. Your Highness, where are you going? Erica on the side also wanted to ask. But before she could speak, Zhang Jie's flat voice came over. The royal palace. Go and meet my filial brother. Hearing this, both Erica and Das were stunned for a moment, wondering if they heard it wrong. But when they saw Zhang Jie open the door and walk towards the palace, they reacted immediately, and they heard correctly. Thinking of Zhang Jie going to the palace like this, both Erica and Darth were so frightened that their hearts jumped into their throats. Don't care too much anymore, the two hurriedly followed up and persuaded. Your Highness, no, if you go to the palace now, you are going to die. Yes, Your Highness, His Highness Tryon has been looking for you. If you appear in the palace, he will definitely not let you go. Don't forget, you are still charged with patricide. What you should do now is to leave New Orake, and then look for opportunities to prove your innocence, expose the truth of the matter, and bring down Tryon. Listening to the chattering words of Erica and Das, the impatient Zhang Jie stopped walking towards the palace, looked back at the two of them sideways and said indifferently. You don't have to follow me anymore, from now on, you are free. Hearing this, Erica and Darth's expressions changed. In the next second, both of them raised their hands and beat their chests together, and retorted firmly. We don't need freedom. We are His Highness's people by birth, and His Highness's ghosts when we die. It doesn't matter if we die, but Your Highness, you can't do anything. Looking at the look of the two of them dying, Yi Ji Yu Yutai scratched his face in embarrassment, and said. Actually, it's just that Otoko Yuta hasn't finished talking yet. Erica snorted. Shut up. Is that the Highness you bewitched? I'll kill you right now. After saying that, Erica was about to pull out the long sword hanging from her waist. Clang. Yi Ji Yu Yutai also changed his face at this moment, and said hastily. Rika, don't come here. It's okay, I'll take care of it. Also at the same moment, Erica felt a chill run down her spine, but in the next second, it disappeared again. Otoko Yuta also breathed a sigh of relief at this moment. But Erica, who didn't know why, still wanted to make the next move. Zhang Jie, who discovered this, immediately said in a cold voice. Stop it, Erica. Seeing that even at such a time, Zhang Jie still has to protect Yi Ji Yu Yutai and stop himself. Erica suddenly shouted with grievances in her heart. Your Highness. However, Zhang Jie's face remained calm. Don't make me repeat. If you want to follow, you have to obey me. You are not allowed to act without my order. If you want to leave, feel free, I won't stop you. Seeing that the atmosphere was not quite right, Das gently tugged on Erica and called out. Erica, calm down. Glancing sideways at Darth, Erica gritted her teeth, finally put down her sword, and lowered her head in disappointment. It is also at this time. In the dark alleyway beside him, there was a sudden sound of gentle footsteps. Da da da. Hearing the movement, Erica and Darth were both startled. In the next second, Erica ran to Zhang Jie's side with a long sword in hand, and reminded him with a vigilant expression. Your Highness, be careful, someone is coming this way. Right now is the time of curfew in the whole city. According to the order issued by Tryon, no one is allowed to go out at night. At this time, there are still footsteps and people wandering around, so it is probably not a good person. However, the person who heard the sound of footsteps has not yet arrived. Zhang Jie opened his mouth to explain. Don't be so nervous, it's one of your own. Erica froze for a moment, a little unresponsive. But in the alley, a person walked out at this moment. The man was wearing a white mask and a light blue long windbreaker. Under the mask, his right eye was bright red with hooks, and his left eye was lavender with circles of black wheel patterns. And this person is Uchiha Obito. Those red and purple pupils are also Sharingan and Rinnegan. Seeing Erica so nervous, Obito raised his hand to say hello, and said in a calm voice. Relax, I'm not the enemy. However, even Obito will explain. But Erica still didn't let go of her vigilance, her brows were tightly furrowed, and Erica was a little surprised and uncertain. Perhaps because of the mask on Obito's face, Erica instinctively felt that this person in front of her was not a good thing. At the same time, because Obito is somewhat mysterious, Erica's intuition is warning, telling her that this person in front of her is very dangerous. Where did this guy come from? I've been by your highness's side for so long, but I never remember when your highness came into contact with this kind of guy. Is it because of him? Thinking so in her heart, Erika subconsciously looked at Otoko Yuta at the side. With that look, Yijiu Yutai couldn't help being stunned for a moment, a little embarrassed. Although I found the vigilance and puzzlement in Erika's heart. But Zhang Jie doesn't have the heart to explain anything now. Well, here we are. Go, I've been here long enough. As he said that, Zhang Jie ignored him and walked towards the palace. Yigayuta and Obito didn't say much, just followed Zhang Jie's pace. But Erika and Das were stunned after hearing Zhang Jie's words. Everyone, is everyone here? Only 5, just go to the palace like this. To meet Tryon who controls the army of the entire kingdom. Isn't this going to die? Thinking of this, Das swallowed subconsciously, approached Erika and whispered. Alas, is your highness really crazy? There are only 5 people in total. Going to challenge his highness Tryon. This is clearly going to die. From the moment Zhang Jie said he was going to the palace, Das felt that Zhang Jie was crazy. But after thinking about it, he might have something behind him. But right now, it doesn't look like that. Just 5 people going to challenge the army of the entire kingdom will definitely die. It seemed that he had sensed Darth's worry. Erika subconsciously turned her head to look at the back of Zhang Jie and others leaving. The 3 of them walked forward in such an unhurried manner, as if they didn't care about whether they and Darth would stay or stay. Seeing that Erika hadn't made a sound for a long time, Das couldn't help calling out again. Hey, Erika, say something. This time, Erika interrupted directly before Das finished speaking. I'm going to follow your highness. Even if his highness is going to die, I will not leave, let alone let him die before me. What you want is up to you. Erika watched Zhang Jie's back, her words were extremely firm. He didn't say anything more to Das, and started to catch up with Zhang Jie and the others. Seeing Erika like this, Das had no choice but to grit his teeth and shout, and quickly followed. Hey, wait for me. Under the leadership of Zhang Jie, the team of 5 headed towards the palace. Just when Zhang Jie and others had been walking for half an hour. From the corner of his eye, Zhang Jie suddenly caught a glimpse of 3 figures running quickly at the intersection of an alley not far from the main street. With just one glance, Zhang Jie recognized the 3 men in black who flashed by. But Zhang Jie didn't say hello, but continued to move towards the palace as if he didn't see it. Same moment, the leader of the 3-person team galloped past the fork in the alley, and suddenly stopped running at this moment. Subconsciously, he turned his head and looked in the direction of Zhang Jie and others. As the leader stopped, the men in black who followed on both sides also stopped, and asked in a puzzled way. What's wrong? The inquiries from the men in black on both sides did not receive an immediate reply. The leading man in black stared in the direction of Zhang Jie and the others, thinking for a moment in silence. After a while, he smiled and shook his head and replied. No, it's nothing, let's continue on our way. Saying that, the leading man in black started to run again. But the group of people and figures she saw just now were still lingering in her mind. Suddenly, when the 3 of them ran a distance of about 100 meters, the figure of a young man suddenly appeared in the mind of the leading man in black. And this also caused the pupils of the leading man in black to contract sharply uncontrollably. Immediately afterwards, she turned around without warning, ran back, and ran out towards the main street. The 2 men in black who followed her were also shocked when they saw this scene, and shouted in a hurry. Where are you going? However, the leading man in black didn't answer them. Instead, he ran to the street, tore off the hat he was wearing, and shouted at Zhang Jie and his group who were going further and further away. Where are you going, big brother? Hearing this familiar voice, Erika and Darth, who were walking at the end of the line, were both taken aback. This voice is Princess Elsa. Erika was startled and turned her head quickly. Immediately afterwards, she saw Elsa wearing night clothes and standing on the main street. The 2 guards following Elsa. After hearing Elsa yell out the words, brother and lord, she couldn't help being stunned. Brother, that's His Royal Highness Fankins. Why is he here? That direction is heading for the palace, right? Shouldn't he be going to the port and leaving Nuo Rake? The 2 guards were a little surprised. Elsa stared closely at the back of Zhang Jie, who was rushing towards the palace. I can't be wrong. I can't admit my mistake. That figure from the back is my brother. Elsa affirmed it over and over again in her heart, at the same time waiting for Zhang Jie's return. It's a pity that Elsa, who was waiting, didn't get a response from Zhang Jie. Zhang Jie didn't even stop to look back at Elsa even once. His pace is not slowing down, and his goal is clear, only the palace. Seeing that Zhang Jie didn't stop for a long time, Das was also a little anxious, and hurried forward to remind him. Your Highness, it's Princess Elsa. Princess Elsa is calling for you. I know, Zhang Jie responded lightly without even looking at Das. How could Zhang Jie not know what they all knew? At the fork in the alley, Zhang Jie had already recognized Elsa. Didn't say hello, just didn't want to meet her. Because once they meet, things will become troublesome, and noisy persuasion will definitely chatter. Zhang Jie didn't want to listen to these troublesome nagging. Right now, he just wants to kill Tryon, end the affairs of Nuo Rake's palace, and then go to sea. As for the king or something, Zhang Jie doesn't care at all. Seeing that Zhang Jie didn't intend to stop, Das didn't dare to say anything more. He had no choice but to grit his teeth and follow Zhang Jie's pace obediently. From the rear, seeing Zhang Jie did not respond to himself, Elsa was in a hurry immediately. Regardless of what was exposed or not, Elsa took a step and chased after Zhang Jie. Wait for me, brother. Sensing that Elsa was chasing after him, Zhang Jie had a headache. Although I don't have any affection for this cheap little sister, but that girl is really kind to her. After she was expelled from the royal family by the king, she provided almost all of her food, clothing, housing and transportation, and she would tell herself immediately if there was any disturbance in the palace. And give yourself an idea on how to make the king happy and return to the royal family. Although, Zhang Jie didn't bother about how to make the king happy at all. But as soon as the king died, she rushed to her residence in person without stopping. Rearranged a hiding place for himself, and set about arranging a ship to leave the kingdom. Because she understood that after Tryon attacked the king, she would definitely be the next one. When she left in the morning, she did not forget to tell herself not to go out, and to be careful of the patrolling guards, so as not to be spotted by them. Before this day came, she came to look for herself again. You can guess without thinking, it must be that she has not received the news of her evacuation for a long time. She was worried and rushed over. It seems to have seen Zhang Jie's troubles. Obito on the side looked at it, and then asked in a flat tone. Should I stop them? Zhang Jie was lost in thought. After a while, he sighed softly. No, just let her nag for the last time. Obito stopped talking nonsense after hearing this. Elsa's shouts also moved from far to near under the passage of time. Brother, wait for me. Wait for me. When Elsa arrived at Zhang Jie's side, she was exhausted and out of breath. But Zhang Jie didn't stop or slow down because of this. Where are you going? Now the whole kingdom is under the control of the second brother. He has been looking for you and wants to kill you to stabilize his throne. Elsa said urgently. The meaning is obvious, it is to tell Zhang Jie that the whole country is under the control of Tryon, and now Norley is very dangerous, especially for him. However, Zhang Jie didn't care about it, and asked Elsa back. Tryon and I, who are you helping? Elsa is in a hurry. Going to see the second brother now will only lead to death in vain. Now that the army is under the control of the second brother, he will definitely not let you go. With a smile on Zhang Jie's face, he looked sideways at Elsa. So, you helped me. Elsa was about to cry, and her eyes immediately became moist. Don't be self-willed at this time, okay? Listen to me, leave Nuo Rake. As long as you leave here, you will be safe. Zhang Jie withdrew his gaze and said in a flat tone. Go back. Once you sleep, everything will be over. The next thing, children will have nightmares. I'm not a child, I've grown up. I'm no longer the little girl who needed my elder brother to protect me. Elsa strongly refuted Zhang Jie's words. But Zhang Jie didn't care about it. Seeing that Zhang Jie didn't take in the oil and salt, and just refused to listen to persuasion, Elsa became even more anxious. I won't just stand by and watch you send me off. But this time, Zhang Jie hadn't waited for Elsa to finish speaking. Then she raised her hand to interrupt what she was about to say, and said leisurely. Give it up, Elsa. You can't persuade me, and you can't stop me. Zhang Jie's words are firm and unquestionable. This also made Elsa stunned for a moment, and she was about to cry. Why, brother, why can't you listen to my advice? If you go to the palace, you will really die. Second brother will not let you go. Just as Elsa's voice fell, a burst of dense footsteps suddenly came from the end of the main street. Da 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 da. This sudden change surprised Elsa, and she didn't bother to persuade Zhang Jie. Not good. It must be the patrolling guards coming this way, let's leave quickly. With that said, Elsa was about to pull Zhang Jie away. But the moment when Elsa's hand touched Zhang Jie, Elsa's hand passed directly through Zhang Jie's. Seeing this sudden scene, Elsa's pupils couldn't help shrinking slightly for a while. Then he raised his head abruptly, looked at Zhang Jie in surprise and said, Brother. Zhang Jie's forward pace finally stopped at this moment. In front, about 20 or 30 patrolling guards wearing armor also spotted Zhang Jie and others at this moment. The leader was wearing a gold-plated armor with a knight's long sword on his waist. And this gold-plated armor is enough to show that he has an extraordinary status. Before Zhang Jie could speak, after discovering Zhang Jie, the knight in gold-plated armor, there was a burst of excited laughter. Ha ha ha, Fan Jins, you are here, ha ha ha, this is really great, I am still wondering where to find you. I didn't expect you to come to the door yourself. While speaking, the leader had already pulled out the long sword at his waist. Seeing the appearance of the man who drew the sword clearly, Elsa's face also changed slightly. Tracy. Zhang Jie looked sideways at Elsa and asked. You know him, your man. Elsa looked sideways at Zhang Jie, a little suspicious that Zhang Jie was joking with herself. Don't be kidding, he is one of the 3 most powerful fighters under the second brother. Even if his strength is in the entire kingdom, he can still be ranked. It was also the moment when Elsa's voice fell. Erika and Das immediately ran in front of Zhang Jie. Your Highness, you and the princess retreat first, and we will break the queen for you. Elsa also looked at her 2 guards. Lorna, Heidi. The 2 female guards took a step forward upon hearing this. Leave it to us. At this time, Zhang Jie also greeted calmly. Since they are from Tryon, there is no need to keep them, let's kill them all. Hearing this, Yi Ji Yu Yutai who was standing beside Zhang Jie responded immediately. Clear. This answer made Obito, who was about to make a move, pause for a moment. Looking at Obito Yuta who was removing the sword from his back, Obito thought about it and proposed. Why don't you let me end this battle directly? Yi Ji Yu Yutai heard the words, waved his hand politely, and declined politely with a smile. No, don't bother you to do it, I will deal with them. Don't worry, it will be soon, just wait a moment. Yi Ji Yu Yutai had a smile on his face, and he untied the long knife that had been carrying behind his back, and held it in his hand. Glancing at Tracy, Yi Guyu strode forward. Even if the opponent has 20 or 30 people, he is not afraid at all. Clang! The long knife was unsheathed, and there was a pleasant trembling sound. However, Otoko Yuta hadn't taken a few steps when he was suddenly grabbed by Erika. Yi Guyuta looked at Erika with some doubts. But Erika looked at Yi Guyuta with a serious face, and said in a cold voice. This is not something you can handle, brat. Take your highness away now, and if something happens to your highness, I will be the first to let you go. Hearing Erika's words, Yi Ji Yu Yutai blinked, and was a little dazed for a while, not knowing what to say. What are you still doing in a daze? Take your highness away, Erika yelled at Yi Guyu too lowly. Although she finds Yi Ji Yu Yutai very unpleasant, but she understood that Zhang Jie valued Yi Ji Yu Yutai very much. Now Zhang Jie is unwilling to leave obediently. Erika can only ask Yi Ji Yu Yutai to take Zhang Jie away, and hopes that Zhang Jie can leave. Watching Erika and Yi Guyuta have a dispute, Tracy was overjoyed. Ha ha ha, it seems that there is still a little conflict among you. This time, Tracy was only halfway through her words. A black shadow suddenly flashed past him. Shua, Hila. In the next second, Tracis' body was instantly divided into 4 or 5 sections, and the stumps and arms fell off the ground. Puff, patter. The dark red blood sprayed out like a spring. The sticky lump of meat fell heavily to the ground. Ahem. Tracy coughed up blood. He looked at his stumped limbs and broken arms, and was a little absent-minded for a while. When he reacted, his face instantly became extremely terrified, and his pupils trembled violently like an earthquake. My body. No. 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 On the other side, Erica and the others also noticed the movement on Trass's side. But before they turned their heads to look, a hoarse voice with boundless killing intent came leisurely. What are you doing? Let go of my Yoda. Hearing this cry, Erica shuddered uncontrollably. Instinctive, boundless fear welled up in my heart. The strong sense of crisis made her body tremble violently like chaff. Almost at the same time, everyone raised their heads and looked in the direction where the voice came from. But I haven't seen the talker yet. They were the first to see Tracy, who was divided into several parts and fell to the ground twitching. Elsa, who had never seen such a bloody scene, was immediately frightened and screamed. Ah! But soon, she raised her hand to cover her mouth. Try hard not to make a sound. The hands covered the voice, but they couldn't hide the frightened expression on Elsa's face. Her hands were trembling slightly, and her body retreated unconsciously. Seeing Trass's cruel death from a distance, Elsa's voice trembled a little. How did this happen? What happened? In Elsa's frightened doubts, the sky above where Tracy died. A black phantom emerged. Immediately afterwards, a hideous monster poked out from the black phantom. Staring fixedly at Erica, who was grabbing Otoko Yuta, Lixiong ordered in a cold tone. Let go of Yoda. Erica swallowed with difficulty, and slowly let go of Yoda Oto. Otoko Yuta also showed a smile, and comforted Lixiong. I'm fine, Rika. She's my friend and won't hurt me. Lixiong was silent for a moment, her voice resentful. I know she's Yuta's friend. I'm very obedient, I have never hurt her, Yuta. As he spoke, Li Zhang's mood became a little strange. But, I'm so angry. Even I don't know why, I feel so angry when I see her. Roaring, Lixiong's emotions also went berserk at this moment. I saw her huge body suddenly protruding from the black phantom. Boom, boom. The ferocious and terrifying appearance was completely revealed. Li Zhang's fully exposed body is tens of feet high. But if you are in Nuo Rake, you can see it when you look up. Roar. A huge roar resounded throughout the Nuo Rake kingdom at this moment. Even the ground trembled slightly. Boom. Below Lixiong, the group of patrolling guards had already been frightened to the ground. What is this thing? Strange, monster. It's a lie, right? Why does this kind of thing appear here? When did it come here? It's over. This time, I'm really going to die. Boundless fear enveloped the body and mind of the guards. They looked up at the huge Lixiong, their pupils trembled like an earthquake, their bodies trembled violently like chaff, and their faces were full of despair. As if thinking of something, a look of hope suddenly appeared on the face of one of the guards. He suddenly turned his head and looked in the direction where Zhang Jie and the others were. He looked at Elsa, who was not far behind Zhang Jie. The guard opened his mouth, just about to speak. But at this moment, Li Shang slapped them fiercely. Shoo! Boom! Boom! A huge roar resounded. Just this one moment, dozens of guards all died on the spot. Puff! Crash! Countless limbs, broken arms and minced meat, mixed with dark red and viscous blood, flew across. Lixiong, Yi Ji Yu Yutai called out worriedly. Immediately stepped forward and ran towards Lixiong. Not far away, Elsa, Erica, Das and others saw Lixiong kill dozens of guards with one move. They were all so terrified that Chi Chi gasped, trembling all over. Are you kidding? Dozens of guards in armor can't stop it. Where did this monster come from? Das was terrified, and his eyes couldn't help it. The control has shrunk sharply. Erica, who was on the side, was even more pale at this time. Earlier, she had once drawn a sword at Yi Guyutai. At that time, she saw Yi Ji Yu Yutai's face change drastically, and at the same time she yelled, Lixiong. Don't come over. At first she didn't care, but now she realized that Erica was not well. So, was I being targeted by this kind of guy before? Erica's voice was trembling with cold sweat on her body. Elsa was directly frightened by the scene in front of her, speechless. The difference is that although Elsa's two guards are terrified of Li Zhang's existence, But it was Zhang Jie who made them care more. They couldn't understand how Zhang Jie met these people, let alone what kind of charm Zhang Jie had. How can such a person be willing to submit to him? Is it really His Royal Highness Van Jins that we know? Rona murmured leisurely, looking at Zhang Jie, who was still standing still even in the face of the monster appearing on the main street. Subconsciously, Lorna looked at Zhang Jie again. And Obito, who was also standing there nonchalantly. The young man with the long sword on his back, the monster that suddenly appeared, and that guy with the white mask. The ups and downs of thoughts in Rona's mind suddenly stopped at this point. Because her intuition was telling her that the people in front of her were not just superficially unusual, but with real secrets and strength. This aura is very powerful. Obito rubbed his chin, observed Sato, who appeared, and secretly weighed in his heart. With such a huge body, agility is not low at all, and its strength is surprisingly strong. What an amazing guy, Obito said leisurely while staring at Lixiang. There was a smile on the face under the white mask, and the hand rubbing his chin was slowly put down. On the side, besides Obito, Zhang Jie was also observing Li Shang. Unlike Obito, though, he's not concerned with Rika's strength, but why she's angry. Is it because Erika targeted Otoko Yuta intentionally or unintentionally, that made Satoka angry? Is it because of something else? Jealousy, hate, these don't seem to make sense. It was also between Zhang Jie's wild thoughts. Otoko Yuta has successfully calmed Lixiang's emotions and made Lixiang quiet down. It was also at the same moment when Li Shang became quiet. Elsa tugged at the corner of Zhang Jie's clothes, and called out in a timid voice. Brother, big brother, that monster. Zhang Jie turned his head slightly, looked at Elsa and said. Her name is Lixiang. Elsa froze for a moment. Lixiang. Zhang Jie nodded in affirmation. At this time, Lixiang retreated into the darkness again, and Otoko Yuta walked back towards Zhang Jie again. Looking at the figure of Otoko Yuta, Elsa felt a little sympathetic. Has he been with the monster Lixiang all the time? Zhang Jie responded calmly, yes. Elsa, to control such a terrible monster, he must be very tired and in pain. Zhang Jie smiled and corrected, you are a bit rash, Elsa. Among them, there is no control over those messy things. The two of them are pure love. Elsa was stunned for a moment, and looked at Otoko Yuta, who was walking towards this side in disbelief. Pure love. Without continuing the discourse, Zhang Jie turned to ask Elsa. Ever wanted to be the king of Norake? When Elsa heard this, her pupils suddenly shrank uncontrollably. All kinds of guesses and ideas fluctuated in her mind, so that Elsa was stunned in place. In the end, there was only one thought that kept circling in his mind. Why did brother ask this question? Is he jealous of me? Thinking that I also want to compete with him for the position of king? It seems to have seen through the thoughts in Elsa's mind. Zhang Jie explained in a calm tone. Tomorrow morning, I will leave New Rake. If you want to be the king of New Rake, then when the sun rises tomorrow, you will be the new king of New Rake. Of course, you can also choose to be an ordinary person, or keep the status quo. I have been kicked out of the royal family by the old king, and I am no longer your former brother. Maybe after tonight, you will have no one to rely on. Let you be free to choose your own life, and be careful and bold to do what you want to do. Before I leave, I can give you the last gift. With that said, Zhang Jie stepped forward and walked out without waiting for Elsa to reply. Don't rush to answer me right away, I will go all the way to the palace along the main street. If you ever figure it out, you want to become the king of the New Rake kingdom, come to me along the main street. If you don't want to, then don't follow. Thinking of Erika and Das, Zhang Jie turned his head to look at Erdao again. You don't have to follow me anymore. From now on, you stay by Elsa's side, and protect her well. After that, Zhang Jie went straight to the palace. Yigu Yuta and Obito also glanced at Elsa and the others, then turned and followed Zhang Jie's pace. Quiet, an eerie silence. Elsa and the others were all in a daze. Beneath that dazed expression was a heart that had already set off a turbulent sea. What did I hear? His Royal Highness, you actually want Princess Elsa to be the queen of the kingdom of New Rake? Is this serious? He doesn't want the position of king anymore. I'm not dreaming, are I? Both Rona and Heidi were shocked physically and mentally. But Elsa, who reacted, didn't even think about it, and chased after Zhang Jie directly. However, her purpose is not to be a king. Instead, first ask clearly, what does Zhang Jie mean by these words, and what does he want to do? What does it mean that as long as you think about it, you are the next king of Nuo Rake Kingdom? What do you mean he's leaving Nuo Rake tomorrow? What would Nora Rake do if he left? What should I do by myself? Wait for me. Brother, what do you want to do? What do those words mean? Elsa was calling and chasing after her. Erika, Darth, Lorna, and Heidi were also relieved by Elsa's shouts. Chased towards Zhang Jie, Elsa and others. But when Elsa caught up with Zhang Jie didn't give Elsa the answer she wanted to know. Instead, he said calmly as usual. No need to ask, no need to say, just follow and watch. Dead people are inevitable things on your way forward. What Zhang Jie said made Elsa hold back everything she wanted to say in her heart. Everyone walked along the main street, all the way to the palace. It seems that Li Shang made a big commotion earlier, so many of the patrolling guards rushed over in this direction. But what awaited them and greeted them was nothing but despair. The guards came in groups, and died in groups. No one was spared, only one survived. Slap, slap, gulu, gulu, flesh and limbs fell off, and warm red blood gushed out. On the huge main street, there were corpses all over the floor, and even the stone brick floor on the street was stained red by blood. So much so that the whole area was filled with a strong and disgusting smell of blood. Elsa didn't say anything yet. It was Erika, Darth, Lorna, and Heidi, the 4 guards who had seen blood and killed people. After seeing such a bloody and cruel scene in front of him, his face was completely pale. I have a strong fear of Zhang Jie. At the same time, in the palace. As Zhang Jie's commotion grew louder and louder, Trian's side also got the news of his appearance smoothly. At this moment, Trian's face was full of excitement and excitement. Finally can't help it. Fan Jins, are you finally willing to come out? I have been looking for you for a long time, my dear brother. With a hideous face, Trian turned his head to look at the guard on the side. Go, get my armor, I will meet him myself. The guards didn't dare to be negligent when they heard the words, and turned around to get Trian's armor. But at this time, a knight commander came out and said, Your Majesty, I'm afraid it's not good for you to go in person. After all, since Van Jins dared to show up in a big way, it proves that he has something to rely on. Although the news from the front is a bit vague, it's not difficult to judge. Van Jins should have defeated several teams of patrolling guards one after another. Hearing that the knight commander was reasoning, Trian smiled indifferently. Of course I know that he has something to rely on, but so what? Now all the power in the kingdom is in my hands. He is just a Van Jins. Even if he finds a bunch of pirates to act as thugs, he can't help me. What? This time, I will not only destroy all his hopes, but also cut off his head with my own hands. After that, Trian strode out. The knight commander at the side was silent for a moment and followed Trian's pace without saying anything. Because he also felt that what Trian said made sense. With royal status and support, Vankins was no match for Trian. Not to mention that Vankins has no royal status now. A mere Van Jins, in front of Trian who holds a heavy army and controls the Nuo Rake Kingdom, can't make any big waves. When Trian put on his armor, matched his sword, and came outside the palace. A large number of soldiers have already gathered outside. Seeing Trian approaching, the knight commander immediately greeted him. The men, horses and soldiers have all been assembled. Trian glanced ahead, and the neatly lined soldiers nodded in satisfaction. With that said, Trian walked towards the front of the soldiers' array, towards the temporary podium. Looking at the densely packed soldiers below, Trian cleared his throat and spoke loudly. I believe you already know the current situation of the kingdom. That's right, the rebellious prince who killed His Majesty the King, Vankins Nor Rake is back. He didn't come back alone, he came back with the despicable pirates and the war. I came back for the king's crown. If this kind of person who kills his father and relatives becomes the king of Nuo Rake Kingdom, it won't be long before the people of the kingdom will live in a fiery hell. Soldiers, tell me, would you like to see your family and friends suffer and suffer? As soon as these words came out, tens of thousands of soldiers present roared in unison. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to. Tryon nodded in satisfaction, and at the same time raised his hand to press down to show silence. Tens of thousands of soldiers also fell silent in an instant. Tryon also continued to speak. I don't want to see you suffer, and I don't want to see the people of New Orake suffer, and I don't want to see war. Because once there is a war, there will be bloodshed, and people will die. I don't want to see your family, your friends, crying because of your sacrifice. But I can't help it. Vengeance came back with full hostility and war. If we don't resist, what awaits us will be a hellish life. Soldiers, tell me, are you willing to live in an area controlled by vengeance? Are you afraid of sacrifice? Don't want to. Don't be afraid. Don't want to. Don't be afraid. The soldiers shouted in unison. Tryon struck while the iron was hot, continued to boost morale, and shouted. Very good. You are warriors, the pride of the kingdom, and mine. Your bravery will be remembered. Your long spear will definitely be able to defeat Van Jin's ambition. Soldiers, fight. Soldiers, forward. In the name of the kingdom of New Orake, initiate a trial against the Fanjin's rebel army. Tryon raised his head to the sky and roared angrily. However, it was also the moment when his shout fell. A loud noise suddenly came from one side. Boom. Boom. The walls surrounding the palace suddenly collapsed at this moment. Even a wall that was several meters long was thrown several meters away by the whole piece, and fell heavily not far from the army. Boom. At this moment, the earth trembled slightly. Thick smoke and dust rose up. On the podium, Tryon froze in place. What happened? The wall collapsed. Tryon murmured in disbelief. The knight commander and a group of guards who reacted around him immediately protected Tryon behind him. Someone is coming. From the looks of it, it seems that the person who came is not good. The knight commander reminded with a solemn face. It was also at this moment that several figures appeared in the thick dust and mist. A flat voice also came out from the dust and mist. It's really a grand scene. I can hear your voices from a long distance away. As the sound came out, it was very fast. The figure of Zhang Jie came out slowly from the dust and mist. The moment he saw the person coming, it turned out to be Van Jin's. Tryon's pupils suddenly contracted uncontrollably. He exclaimed in disbelief. Van Jin's, why are you here? How did you come here? There was a faint smile on Zhang Jie's face. He glanced at the soldiers gathered at the scene. It was densely packed, at least tens of thousands of people, and they were all staring at themselves. When Tryon said that he was Vankin's, a bit of cold light flashed in their eyes more or less. Obviously, Tryon should have instilled a lot of things in them, making them hate him. However, even so, Zhang Jie was not afraid at all. A sinister smile appeared on his face. Zhang Jie looked at Tryon on the podium, and even the tens of thousands of soldiers assembled here, and joked. Didn't you say you were going to judge me? I'm standing here now, come if you have the ability. And like guys. Da. Zhang Jie's voice just fell. The figures of Obito Yuta and Uchiha Obito came out from the dust at the same time. Stand still on the left and right sides of Zhang Jie, facing the tens of thousands of soldiers assembled in front of you. In the rear, along with Otoko Yuta and Uchiha Obito walked out of the dust and fog. Elsa and the others also came out of the dust cloud one after another. But when they just walked out of the dust and mist, they saw the scene in front of them, and saw the tens of thousands of soldiers who were watching them. The bodies of Elsa and the others froze in place on the spot. The pupils trembled violently like an earthquake. Where is it? Are we in the wrong place? Heidi looked around and her voice trembled a little. Thinking of what Zhang Jie just said, their bodies suddenly trembled violently like chaff, and cold sweat broke out on their foreheads. Die. Why are there so many soldiers here? In the palace, when did there suddenly appear a training ground? And His Royal Highness Fankins. Did he not see it, or is he crazy? He said that kind of thing. There are tens of thousands of people here, each spit can drown us, how dare he provoke them like this? Lorna looked at Zhang Jie's back, and swallowed in fear. At the same time, she leaned slightly towards Elsa. At such a close distance, they could naturally hear what Zhang Jie said earlier. The visible line of sight was obstructed by the dense dust and mist. So much so that they didn't see the scene outside the dust mist immediately. So at the beginning, they didn't react too much, and even ignored it automatically. But when they saw so many soldiers in front of them, they couldn't ignore them even if they wanted to. The other side. After hearing Zhang Jie's words, Tryon was not angry either. In his opinion, what Zhang Jie was doing was nothing more than a moment of quick talk, which was meaningless at all. I hold an army of tens of thousands in my hands, and it is right in front of me. The advantage is mine. Thinking of this, Tryon became more calm and composed. When I heard that you defeated several teams of patrolling guards one after another, I thought that you brought a lot of troops. But now it seems that I think highly of you. Zhang Jie asked back with a playful face. To deal with you, you still need to summon troops. You don't take yourself too seriously, do you? Tryon frowned, his tone a little displeased. Fan Jins, after being kicked out of the royal family by the father, you were beaten stupid, are you out of your mind? What kind of life have you lived during this period of time, and what is your own strength, don't you know it yourself? Zhang Jie smiled, and walked directly towards Tryon. Elsa on the side was startled when she saw this, and hurried forward to hold Zhang Jie. Brother, cold. However, before Elsa got close to Zhang Jie, Obito stopped in front of Elsa, and said lightly, "It's better for you to be a little quiet and don't get in the way." Your Highness. Elsa was a little annoyed when she saw this. You guy. But Obito didn't care about that. It was also at this time that Tryon looked at Elsa, narrowed his eyes and said coldly, Elsa, you are becoming more and more disobedient. I told you that you are not allowed to leave the palace. But now it seems that you have not only left the palace, but also secretly helped Van Jins during this time. You make me sad. After this incident, you should get married, and someone should take good care of you. As soon as Tryon said this, Elsa shivered immediately, and her body trembled unconsciously. But after Tryon finished speaking, he stopped paying attention to Elsa. Turning his eyes back to Zhang Jie who was walking slowly, Tryon ordered coldly. Hurry up and get rid of him. The knight commander at the side nodded immediately when he heard the words, and strode towards Zhang Jie. It's really boring. I would actually mobilize so many people because of such an incompetent person. Looking at the knight commander walking towards Zhang Jie, Tryon said lightly. But after he finished speaking, he couldn't help but glance sideways at the many soldiers gathered at the side. After thinking for a while, a smile appeared on his face again. Anyway, this time is still very beneficial to me. Although I don't have the opportunity to mobilize the army to win a battle, the previous speeches have finally achieved my goal. Clang! The long sword buzzed. The knight commander in armor drew out his long sword and approached Zhang Jie with heavy steps. Click, click, click. With the heavy armor, there were crisp sounds as the knight commander stepped forward. The knight commander stared at Zhang Jie with a cold voice. Your Highness, no. Thankins, surrender, you have already lost this struggle. You know my strength, the strongest knight commander in the court. You will not be my opponent. It's about the friendship between you and me, I don't want to kill you. But if you are stubborn, then I can only chop off your head. This is my last advice, I advise you not to. The voice of the knight commander has not yet fallen. The figure of Yigu Yutai disappeared in the same place in an instant. Buzz. When he reappeared, he was already beside the knight commander. Facing this sudden scene, the knight commander was terrified, and his pupils shrank uncontrollably. While the knight leader was thinking up and down, Otoko Yuta's cold voice came slowly. What are you talking about? At the same time as the words came out, Yigu Yutai took a horizontal shot with a long knife in his hand, and threw it towards the knight commander's face. The knight commander was startled, and he raised his long sword to block it. But the speed was still a step slower after all. Boom! Accompanied by a loud beating sound. The knight commander screamed in pain when he was slapped by Yigu Yuta with a horizontal knife, and flew upside down and hit the wall on one side heavily. Ah! Call out! Boom! 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 In an instant, thick smoke billowed up from the surrounding area, and the knight commander's body was directly embedded in the wall. And Otoko Yuta stood where the knight commander was standing before, quietly watching the knight commander embedded in the wall. Quiet. For a moment, the entire area fell into an eerie silence. Tryon's eyes widened even more, his face full of disbelief. Knight commander, it is Elsa and Lorna and others. After seeing the knight commander was blown away by Yi Guyuta, the expression of shock was not unstoppable. Are you kidding me? He actually beat Leopold away. Elsa covered her mouth in surprise. At the back, Lorna felt even more turbulent waves in her heart at this moment. It was basically the hand of the monster hiding in the dark who came all the way. She alone was able to easily sweep away so many patrolling guards. The formidable strength she displayed was enough to surprise Lorna. But right now, that guy named Yigu Yutai has also shown such a powerful strength. Are you crazy? That is the court knight of the kingdom of New Orake, a man who was praised by the old king as the strongest knight in the kingdom. Now he was blown away with one move. Am I dreaming? Lorna murmured to herself in confusion. And among this group of people, Erika was the one who was hit the hardest. The strength that Yigu Yuta showed right now, just the hand that knocked Leopold into the air, is enough to prove the gap in strength between the two sides. She couldn't even see Otoko Yuta's movements clearly just now. Not to mention how to take this blow. It turns out, is his strength so powerful? Then I have been. Erika's murmurs gradually died down, and her eyes turned to Zhang who was walking towards Tryon. At this moment, she had mixed feelings in her heart, and there was an indescribable complex emotion. And the other side, seeing that Admiral, his subordinate, was blown away in a single encounter, Tryon's face suddenly became gloomy. Looking at Zhang who was still striding forward, Tryon took 2 steps back and looked at the several guards behind him at the same time. Several guards understood immediately, and raised their hands to greet the army assembled here. Boom! As the guards waved, many soldiers immediately turned around. Point the weapons and spearheads in your hands at Zhang. Tryon settled down for a while, and at the same time shouted in the direction where Leopold flew upside down. Leopold, don't tell me, you only have this level. Don't tell me, you can no longer fight. With Tryon's shout came out. In the billowing dust and fog, Leopold, who had been slowed down from Otoko Yuta's blow, covered his face with bursts of stinging pain. Walking down the wall with difficulty, the voice responded hoarsely. Don't worry, Your Highness. I was just careless just now, and I can fight again. Hearing Leopold's words, Yigu Yuta's expression turned cold. Tryon, who received Leopold's response, also showed a smile at this moment. That's good. Hurry up, relieve. At the same time when Tryon's voice sounded, Otoko Yuta made a move again. Different from before, this time he is faster. Whoosh. Almost instantly, Otoko Yuta appeared in front of Leopold again. The dust and mist surrounding it were all torn apart on the spot by the strong wind blown by Yigu Yutai's galloping speed. Buzz. No words. Under Leopold's astonished gaze, Yigu Yutai took a sudden step, reaching out with one hand and grabbing Leopold's forehead. Immediately without hesitation, it suddenly hit the ground. Shua. Boom. The stone tile floor shattered. Boom. The huge impact force caused the entire ground to collapse, opening cracks like spider webs. Boom. Rich smoke and dust again. Seeing this scene, Tryon was no longer calm. Any fool could understand that Leopold couldn't stop that young man. Moreover, it is not difficult to judge from what the young man just said, even if the next Leopold can fight, he will only be disabled. Even in his heyday, he was no match for that young man, let alone after he was injured. Where did Van Jins find this helper, so powerful? While cursing secretly, Tryon also understood that he couldn't wait any longer. Now the closer Zhang got, the more uneasy he felt, always feeling that there was a change. He must be killed immediately. Thoughts arose. Tryon waved his hand and ordered. Take them down. Except for Her Royal Highness, if there is any resistance, I will kill them without mercy. Hearing this, Lorna, Erika and the others were all shocked. His face immediately became a little ugly. Oops. Now, I'm in big trouble. Erika gritted her teeth. Heidi, protect Princess Elsa. Das. Hey, 8 people against tens of thousands. This is not good. Tisk. Is it a fatal situation? Lorna clenched her teeth, subconsciously looking at the man in the white mask. Her intuition was telling her that this person who had never shot before might be able to save this crisis. Hope, it can only be pinned on him. Rona thought so in her heart. And Obito, wearing a white mask, after seeing the enemy's army move. Under the white mask, he couldn't help revealing a smile and said with emotion. Is it finally my turn to join the battle? I haven't exercised for a long time. Along the way, he wanted to deal with those patrolling guards a few times, to exercise his muscles a little. However, he was preempted every time, which also made him a little helpless. Now that there are tens of thousands of troops here, there is no need to worry about not mobilizing the tibia. Thinking so, Obito formed a mudra with one hand, and slowly raised his hand. Come out, ghetto statue. Buzz. The chirping sound echoed in the void. Behind Obito, ripples appeared in the space. However, it was also at this moment when Obito's spell was not yet formed. A powerful aura suddenly erupted from Zhang Jie's body. Boom! The oppressive feeling that was as heavy as a mountain immediately enveloped the entire kingdom. Everyone, after feeling this strong and terrifying aura, their faces changed, and they were shocked. Instinctive, fearful expressions enveloped the bodies and minds of everyone present. So much so that their bodies began to tremble uncontrollably. Even Erika, Lorna and the others shrank their pupils at this moment, and suddenly raised their heads to look at Zhang Jie. This breath, Your Highness. Erika was horrified. Lorna's eyes widened even more at this moment. Am I dreaming? This feeling of oppression that seems to be suffocating is His Royal Highness. At the same moment, Zhang Jie's steps fell, and the top conqueror's haki unfolded in an instant. Buzz. Powerful and terrifying power surged out from Zhang Jie's body. Even the stone brick floor under Zhang Jie's feet collapsed layer by layer because they couldn't bear the powerful force at this moment. Boom, 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 boom. The top conqueror's haki also turned into a gust of wind at this moment. With Zhang Jie as the center, it spreads out in all directions. A strong wind blows past. The tens of thousands of soldiers who were acting in response to the order suddenly stopped after the strong wind blew. Immediately afterwards, their expressions became dull. Even the surroundings became quiet because of the cessation of their actions. Tryon, who hadn't reacted yet, was still terrified by the anger just now. But at this moment, he is obviously more concerned about the movements of the soldiers. Seeing that his soldiers stopped, but Zhang Jie was still moving forward, Tryon shouted anxiously. What are you doing? Take them down quickly. It was also at the moment when Tryon's voice fell. Tens of thousands of soldiers rolled their eyes at the same time, passed out on the spot, and fell heavily to the ground. Flop, 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 boom, boom. In just one breath, the army was still standing proudly on the front line. At this moment, no one was standing, and they were all lying on the ground like corpses. Obito, who was originally planning to summon the ghetto statue, also terminated the spell, and said with emotion. It seems that I still don't have the part to participate in the battle this time. This terrifying aura, like a mountain, is really amazing. While speaking, Obito couldn't help looking at Zhang Jie's figure. On the other side, Elsa, Erika, Lorna and others. After seeing tens of thousands of soldiers being dealt with in an instant by Zhang Jie, his face was filled with unbelievable shock. The pupils were shrinking sharply. Elsa turned her head stiffly like a machine, and looked at Heidi whose body was trembling and her pupils were shaking. This, my brother. At this moment, Elsa couldn't even speak clearly. Heidi was also greatly impacted by this scene. So much so that now she didn't notice Elsa at all, let alone hear what Elsa said. She just looked at the tens of thousands of people who fell down like that, and whispered with a trembling voice. Cheat, a lie, solved an army of tens of thousands of people in an instant. On the side, Rona's body was also shaking violently like chaff. Is this really His Royal Highness I know? Could it be, is this His Royal Highness' real strength and appearance? Destroying tens of thousands of people in an instant, this kind of terrifying strength has far surpassed ours, and it is not even at the same level as ours. Rona murmured with disbelief on her face. The pupils were also shrinking uncontrollably and trembling. At this time, she was horrified by Zhang Jie's strength. It can kill tens of thousands of people in an instant. This kind of terrifying strength has far exceeded Lorna's cognition. It is not an exaggeration to say that Zhang is a monster. Erika and Darth were also hit hard. They stared at Zhang Jie in a daze, their expressions filled with disbelief. Is His Highness so strong? The other side, Tryon stared blankly at the scene in front of him. Looking at the tens of thousands of soldiers who were still imposing 1 second and fell to the ground the next, their pupils trembled violently like an earthquake. At this moment, his face was full of unbelievable astonishment. 4. Why? Why are you all down? Why, useless things, the battle hasn't started yet. Why are you all down? Answer me, you fool. At the end of the sentence, Tryon yelled almost hysterically. You cannot deceive yourself. His greatest reliance is the king's army. But before the battle started, all the army fell, and all his subordinates also fell. There were originally tens of thousands of people, but only myself was left in an instant. But the number of people on Venkin's side has not decreased. How can I fight this? Seeing Tryon, who was out of control and no longer calm before, Zhang Jie had a playful smile on his face and said, Dao Khan. How is it? How does it feel to be sure of winning 1 second, and losing the next second? It's not bad, isn't it? Venkins. Tryon gritted his teeth, his voice full of anger. In the next second, Tryon pulled out the long sword from his waist, and the tip of the sword pointed directly at Zhang Jie's path. Let's have a duel. Just the two of us, let's have an upright contest. Seeing Tryon's appearance, Zhang Jie raised his hand and greeted him contemptuously. Come on, let me teach you how to be a man. Tryon's eyes were wide open, and he ran towards Zhang Jie without saying a word, holding the long sword. Seeing this scene, Zhang Jie also reached out and grabbed the handle of the knife at his waist. Clang! The pleasant sound of the long knife unsheathing echoed. Accompanied by a flash of cold light, the bright red blood splashed out immediately. Shoo! Puff! A miserable howl resounded in all directions. Ah! Tryon clutched his arm that was spurting blood crazily, rolling back and forth on the ground in pain. Zhang Jie, on the other hand, stood still. He held the blood-stained long knife in his right hand, and held Tryon's right arm and wrist in his left hand. At this time, Tryon's right arm, which had been cut off in its entirety, was still holding the long sword tightly. The right arm held by Zhang Jie's left hand was drooping, and blood continued to flow out from the cut. Zhang Jie didn't mind it at all. Elsa's pupils contracted slightly after witnessing this scene. Brothers' swordsmanship, better. On the side, Lorna swallowed with some difficulty, looked at Elsa, feeling terrified. Your Highness, it's not just the sword skills that are more exquisite. It's just a big step up. His Highness's swordsmanship was very good before, and he could last more than a dozen rounds in their hands. Now, let alone a dozen rounds. I'm afraid it doesn't take 3 rounds to kill myself. Not to mention Tryon's swordsmanship, just Zhang Jie's strike just now, even if he went up, his arm would only be chopped off in the face of that blow. She didn't even see the movement clearly, let alone pick it up. Thinking of this, Lorna felt inexplicably cold, and then rubbed her right arm for a while. Yeah, still there. Shua. Zhang Jie held the long knife and flicked it slightly to remove the blood from the knife. Immediately, he turned his head to look at Tryon, who fell to the ground and howled. For a long time, you have never surpassed me in swordsmanship. What makes you think that you can defeat me this time? Is it selective amnesia? Zhang Jie's tone was indifferent, and after discarding Tryon's severed arm, he walked slowly towards Tryon. At this time, Tryon subconsciously stopped howling. The instinct of fear prompted him to keep moving backwards, trying to keep a distance from Zhang Jie. However, how could he be faster than Zhang Jie? Coming in front of Tryon, Zhang Jie stepped on Tryon's body, and at the same time held the long knife behind his back, stabbing it into the ground next to Tryon's neck. Gulu. Tryon swallowed with difficulty. The fear of death enveloped his body and mind at this moment, causing him to shed 2 lines of tears. With an expression full of pleading, Tryon looked at Zhang Jie and spoke hoarsely. Brother, big brother, I don't want the throne anymore, I don't fight for it. I know that what I have done to you during this time is too much, I am willing to leave the royal family, leave Norake, and never come back. I just ask you to forgive me and let me live. Listening to Tryon's crying, pleading words, Zhang Jie couldn't help falling into silence. After all, he is also his younger brother, so he should not kill him so cruelly. How should I put it, you are also my younger brother. As an elder brother, you should be kinder. After finishing speaking, Zhang Jie held the handle of the knife and slowly pressed it down obliquely. Bah! The sharp knife cut the flesh of Tryon's neck, and the bright red blood flowed out. This time, the fear in Tryon's heart was assured. Struggling, howling in pain. Brother, brother, brother grows up. Before Tryon finished speaking, Jongjae made a silent gesture with a gentle smile. Shish, don't make noise, don't struggle. If you accidentally cut yourself, you will die. Tryon froze when he heard this. At this moment, he didn't struggle anymore, he just looked at Jongjae like that, and shed 2 lines of tears in gratitude. Thank you, I will definitely leave Nuo Rake, and I will leave tonight and never come back. Nuo Rake will definitely be more prosperous with you as a brother. Jongjae didn't answer, but smiled faintly. As the long knife penetrated deeper into Tryon's neck, a large amount of viscous and bright red blood also gushed out. Puff! Tryon's body began to twitch uncontrollably. He widened his eyes and stared at Jongjae. A look of astonishment and disbelief. Only this time, Tryon couldn't get his words out. Jongjae cut off his head completely. Even before Tryon was about to die, he still felt that he had hope of living. After watching Tryon's death, he still maintained his astonished head. Jongjae couldn't help feeling emotional. Is there still a bit of the virgin in the bones? It's just that we have been together for a few months, and we have become kind to him. I'm really speechless, thank you for thinking about where to put him after making him a human pig. Slandering a few words in his heart, Jongjae raised his head and looked at Elsa. At this time, Elsa was obviously frightened after seeing Jongjae kill Tryon, and her face was a little pale. Seeing this, Jongjae narrowed his eyes with a smile. Maybe, I'm afraid to scare this girl. Putting aside the thoughts in his head, Jongjae looked at Elsa and ordered. Go help me prepare a boat, I'll sail tomorrow morning. It doesn't matter whether Elsa agrees or not. Jongjae said, turning his head to look outside the palace. Yo-Yo whispered with a smile on her face. Now, it's time to find those ministers who have broken their mouths and talk about old times. The next day, the sky was misty. Nuo Rake Kingdom Port. The 3 men walked slowly towards a medium-sized ship. Walking ahead, the leading youth yawned lazily. Speaking of which, we are about to set sail. What is the name of the pirate group? Do you two have any suggestions? Jongjae glanced sideways, looking at Obito Yuta and Uchiha Obito. Chapter 11. Obito immediately fell into thinking when he heard this. This is a serious question. The name of the pirate group will always be with them. Once it spreads, it will become very troublesome if they want to change it later. Yiji Yutai at the side was also lost in thought. At the same time, the system's notification sound came into Jongjae's mind. Ding! Congratulations to host for getting plus 700 combat value. Listening to the notification tone broadcast by the system, Jongjae's mood was a little complicated. After a big battle, he only got 700 battle points, which is really pitifully small. However, less is less, mosquito legs are also meat. No matter what, it was enough to draw the last prize. Without any hesitation, Jongjae opened the lottery page. A lottery was conducted directly. Ding! Battle value minus 400. Ding! Congratulations to host for summoning the Conqueror from One Punch World, Hungry Wolf. Ding! Congratulations to the Conqueror, Hungry Wolf, for winning the battle blessing. Ding! Congratulations to the Conqueror, Hungry Wolf, for winning the top observation hockey. Ding! Congratulations to the Conqueror, Hungry Wolf, for obtaining the top armament hockey. Ding! Congratulations to host, successfully extracted the ability of the Conqueror, Hungry Wolf. A series of notification sounds from the system fell. Jongjae suddenly felt something in his heart, and turned his head to look behind, in a dark alley. Obito Yuta and Obito at the side also seemed to have noticed something. All of them stopped walking towards the ship, turned their heads and looked at the alley behind. Da da da. There was a sound of unhurried footsteps. The Hungry Wolf with short silver-white hair and a strong figure also came out slowly from the alley. Yiji Yutai looked at Hungry Wolf, and subconsciously looked at Obito who was beside him. New member. Obito looked at Yigu Yuta upon hearing the sound, and then looked at Hungry Wolf Road. Certainly. At the same time, in the palace. Boom boom boom. There was a slightly dull knock on the door. In the room, Elsa who was curled up on the big bed slowly raised her head. At this time, her eyes were a little red and swollen, obviously she had cried. Who A hoarse and crying voice came from Elsa's mouth. There was a moment of silence outside the room before a female voice came. It's me, Your Highness Fan Jinxi, is leaving, are you really not going to see him off? Elsa buried her head in her knees without making a sound. Rona, who was outside the room, heard that Elsa hadn't responded for a long time, so she could only sigh, turned and left. Boarded the ready ship, Zhang Jie, who was already tired, greeted Yi Ji Yu Yutai and the others. I'll leave the rest to you. I'll find a place to sleep first. After finishing speaking, Zhang Jie walked into the cabin under the astonished eyes of Yi Ji Yu Yuta, Obito and Hungry Wolf, and went to sleep in a room. The three stood on the deck for a long time. Yi Ji Yu Yutai suddenly looked at Hungry Wolf, and asked curiously. Can you sail a boat? Hungry Wolf turned his head and glanced at Yi Ji Yu Yutai. After a moment of silence, he withdrew his gaze and said calmly. No, I haven't opened such a thing before. Yi Ji Yu Yutai was a little embarrassed. Neither do I, Mr. Obito. Obito rubbed his chin in thought for a moment, then looked up at the mast sail above. The boat is driven by the wind. Put that thing down and the boat can move. Yi Ji Yu Yutai and Hungry Wolf heard the words. Soon the sails of the ship were lowered. Boom! As soon as the mast sail was lowered, it was blown inflated by the sea breeze. But several people waited for a long time, but the boat still stayed in place. Otoko Yuta and Hungry Wolf blinked. He couldn't help turning his head to look at Obito curiously. Why is the boat not moving? Obito was lost in thought. It shouldn't be. Logically speaking, that's right. While Obito murmured, suddenly there was a strong sea breeze blowing. Immediately afterwards, several crisp sounds were heard suddenly from behind the three of them. Clap, clap, crack, crack, crack. The three subconsciously turned their heads to look. I saw three thick hemp ropes firmly pulling the ship to the port, preventing it from leaving. Seeing this, Obito and others suddenly realized. Stepping forward quickly, the three hemp ropes were cut off with one blow. Immediately afterwards, the boat moved slowly. Oh, it's moving, it's moving. Hungry Wolf was a little excited. At the same time, in the cabin room, Zhang Jie just fell asleep. Suddenly had a nightmare, the whole person trembled and suddenly woke up. His breathing was a little disturbed, Zhang Jie muttered to himself in an uneasy voice. Why, I have a bad feeling. Is it because you killed too many people this time? Zhang Jie was silent for a while. After calming down for a while, I put aside my distracting thoughts and fell asleep again. After an unknown amount of time, Zhang Jie woke up leisurely from his sleep. Looking outside the round window, it was not too late, and the vast blue sea was in sight. Some lazily yawned and stretched. Zhang Jie walked out of the direction and walked on the corridor leading to the deck. As soon as he stepped out of the cabin, Zhang Jie heard the sound of arguing on the deck. Why did I bully him? White Mask, come, judge. Hungry Wolf's annoyed voice came. Zhang Jie looked up and saw four figures standing on the deck. Even Lixiang showed up for the first time. Before walking over, Zhang Jie saw Obito and sighed helplessly. What do you want me to say? Hearing Obito's words, Hungry Wolf froze for a moment. Enrika spoke. I hate it. Satoshi hates you. This time the Hungry Wolf became short-tempered, and the veins on his forehead stood out. Can you guys be reasonable? Lixiang was not afraid at all, looked directly at the Hungry Wolf and replied. The sweetness can't be taken by you. I have never eaten a meal made by Yuta. Li Zhang's absurd reason directly made Hungry Wolf's mouth crooked. You fool. Seeing this, Yi Guyutai hurriedly stepped forward to smooth things over. Calm down, Mr. Hungry Wolf. Hungry Wolf looked at Yi Guyutai, pointed at Lixiang and refused to accept. It's her who is being unreasonable. What are you kidding? Just arrange personal tasks normally, and she actually said that she bullied Yi Ji Yu Yutai. That's fine, the quarrel hasn't been won yet. I've never been so wronged in my life. I thought that with Yi Ji Yu Yutai to mediate, the matter would come to an end, but I didn't know that Yi Ji Yu Yutai hadn't spoken yet. Lixiang was the first to speak. You are unreasonable. Lixiang. Yi Guyuta felt like crying. Why did he become so stubborn this time? Seeing this scene from a distance, Zhang Jie was stunned. What's the situation? An argument? Why? And what happened to Lixiang? How could she come out? Did he lose control of his emotions and go berserk? No, she doesn't seem to have done anything out of the ordinary. Emotionally stable, just come out to get some air. Not right. How could she still quarrel with the hungry wolf? What are you guys doing? We had a great chat. Zhang Jie walked towards them with curiosity and doubts. At the same time, Yi Ji Yu Yutai and others also noticed Zhang Jie's arrival. Yi Ji Yu Yutai scratched his head in embarrassment, wanting to say something, but didn't know how to say it for a while. Seeing this, Obito on the side laughed and explained. We are assigning daily tasks. We originally planned to ask Yuta to cook, but Satoka disagrees. With Obito's explanation in this way, Zhang Jie can guess a lot. Inexplicably feeling a little funny, Zhang Jie looked at the hungry wolf and laughed and joked. Can you quarrel over such a small matter? Hungry wolf felt a little helpless. I didn't intend to quarrel with her at the beginning, it was she who was unreasonable and pestered endlessly. Just as Hungry Wolf finished speaking, Li Shang suddenly appeared again. Report, villain. As soon as these words came out, Hungry Wolf was so excited that the veins on his forehead popped up. You guy, what are you talking about here? Yi Guyutai hastily covered Lixiang's mouth, and at the same time apologized to Hungry Wolf. Sorry. Okay, Rika, stop making trouble. Seeing this, Zhang Jie at the side was also a little dumbfounded. For the quarrel among the crew members, Zhang Jie is not disgusted, and even thinks it is good. Perhaps the two people who quarreled will not feel that there is anything good. But in the eyes of others, this is the place where the atmosphere is active and the team fits better. It felt almost the same. Zhang Jie immediately mediated. It would be good for you two to switch tasks. There is no need to quarrel over such a trivial matter. As soon as he said this, Hungry Wolf turned to look at Zhang Jie. Zhang Jie asked, "What's wrong?" Hungry Wolf hesitated for a while, then nodded with some erratic eyes. That's fine too. After finishing the matter, Zhang Jie smiled and talked about the topic he talked about before boarding the boat. Speaking of which, what is the name of our pirate group? I haven't figured it out yet. It happens to be free now, let's think about it together. After all, Zhang Jie sat down on the ground. Yigu Yuta, Hungry Wolf and Obito also sat down. Regarding naming things, Zhang Jie consciously understands that it's not very good, but what he doesn't know is those three are not so good. It wasn't long before Obito made his first suggestion. The strongest pirate group, how about the name? Zhang Jie was stunned when he heard this. The Hungry Wolf on the side spoke. No, I think it's better to call it the strongest weird pirates. Zhang Jie. Obito thought for a moment, then retorted. No, I think the strongest conqueror pirates are better. No, it's better called the super weird pirates. No, the super strongest pirates are even better. Super invincible pirates are even better. Listening to the dispute between the two, Zhang Jie who was sitting on the side was numb. He opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but for a while he didn't know what to say. Is Obito someone with this personality? This is not right. Was he taken away by a fae? It was also when the dispute between Obito and Hungry Wolf was fierce. Yi Ji Yu Yutai slowly raised his hand, and tentatively made a suggestion. Well, why don't we call it Mercy Pirates? As soon as these words came out, Obito and Hungry Wolf, who were arguing, suddenly stopped listening. In an instant, there was no sound on the deck. A little stiff, Obito and Hungry turned their heads and looked at Otoko Yuta. What did you say? Yi Guyuta looked at the expressions of Obito and Hungry Wolf, and said cautiously. The Mercy Pirates. Obito and Hungry Wolf looked at each other, and they both bowed their heads and fell silent. After a while, Zhang Jie looked up at Yi Ji Yu Yutai and said. We know you and Lixiang are pure love. Well, we know. Yi Guyutai was stunned when he heard the words, then quickly waved his hands and smiled. No, I'm not talking about me and Lixiang, I'm talking about the name of the pirates. How about the Mercy Pirates? Zhang Jie, Obito, Hungry Wolf. At this moment, the deck became quiet again. Zhang Jie, Obito and Hungry Wolf fell into silence. After pondering for a moment, Hungry Wolf slowly raised his head, looked at Obito seriously and sincerely and said. Suddenly, I feel that the name you gave seems to be a good name. Obito groaned slightly. I think You have good taste too. Hungry Wolf sighed in relief. Hey, if that's the case, why don't we combine yours and mine and call it the Super Invincible and Strongest Monster Pirates? Zhang Jie, who was sitting by the side, was numb on the inner and outer floors. Can it still be named like this? On the side, Yi Ji Yu Yutai saw that the name he wanted was selectively ignored by others, and he couldn't help but feel a little sad. Anyway, give me some feedback. I don't hear what's going on. Yi Ji Yu Yutai sighed helplessly, looking as if he was about to cry. Hearing this, Zhang Jie and the three fell silent again. After a while, Hungry Wolf opened his mouth to speak. Although the name given by the white mask is a little bit poor in taste, it's okay anyway. The name you gave will not be on the stage. Hungry Wolf's words were like a critical strike on Ping A, which dealt a heavy blow to Yi Guyutai on the spot. Is my name so embarrassing? Seemingly harboring a sliver of hope, Obito looked at Obito. Being stared at by Obito Yuta like this, Obito sighed after hesitating for a while. If I use your name, I will die. Crash, are you a robot? Yi Guyu asked back in astonishment. Obito smiled a little embarrassedly. No, it's mainly because I'm too ashamed. Yi Guyutai fell down on the spot. Seeing this, Obito and Hungry Wolf looked at each other. Super Invincible and Strongest Monster Pirate Group. Hungry Wolf repeated the name. Obito narrowed his eyes and spoke solemnly. I agree. Hungry Wolf immediately stretched out his hand and grinned. Then it's decided. Obito also smiled, and held out his hand to hold the Hungry Wolf. Happy cooperation. After the two talked, it suddenly occurred to them that they hadn't asked Zhang Jie's opinion. In the next second, both of them turned their heads to look at Zhang Jie and asked at the same time. How is it, Captain? Super Invincible and Strongest Monster Pirates, isn't that a good name? How do you feel? Hearing this, Zhang Jie raised his head and looked at Hungry Wolf and Obito. How do I feel? Obito and Wolf nodded. Zhang Jie immediately fell into silence. After thinking for a while, Zhang Jie looked at Obito and Hungry Wolf. If it's called this name, I think I should get off the ship and do good. Obito and Evil Wolf couldn't help but startled when they heard this. Yigu Yutai seemed to see hope, and immediately became energetic. Sure enough, the name I gave sounds nice, right? The captain and I have the same idea. Zhang Jie turned his head, looked at Yi Ji Yu Yutai, and waved his hands. No, I don't want the boat if it's named after you. Yi Ji Yu Yutai was listless again, and his whole body became listless. Sure enough, it's more appropriate to use my name. Let's call it Super Invincible Pirates. Hungry Wolf stood up, his tone a little excited. Zhang Jie turned his head and waved his hand. It's better to call it CI. Compared to being called Super Invincible Pirates so-and-so, it's better to kill me directly and give me a good time. Since everyone's starting is not very good, let's take a compromise as Obito said before, and call it the Battle of Pirates. Hungry Wolf frowned slightly upon hearing this. What a shameful name. As soon as these words came out, Zhang Jie's mouth was twisted in anger. You are not qualified to say that. Hungry Wolf didn't care at all, and continued to make suggestions. Call the Super Battle Pirates. This is good. Zhang Jie. Obito, drag him to the Kamui space. Obito. Okay. After a lot of twists and turns, the name of the pirates was finally finalized. Then, there was the painting of the pirate flag. After some discussion, the pattern was finalized as two white Shinigami sickles and a skull. It's a good drawing, Yuta. Looking at the pirate flag drawn by Otoko Yuta, Obito praised without hesitation. Suddenly being praised, Yi Guyuta felt a little embarrassed for a while. Really, I was worried that it would be ugly. Hungry Wolf heard the sound and came over, observed for a while, nodded and said. Well, yes, there is still a lot of room for hints. Obito and Yi Guyuta looked at each other in silence. Then he turned his head to look at Hungry Wolf's work. After being silent for a while, Obito looked at the Hungry Wolf and said seriously. The paste you drew is quite similar. Huh, what are you talking about, fool? I'm not drawing paste. In the same sea area, a marine warship flying the marine flag, as usual, is performing a cruise mission on the sea. Located in the lookout on the topsail, two sailors in marine costumes are observing the surrounding sea area with binoculars. Huh, what's the situation? Suddenly, a sailor frowned and put down the binoculars with a puzzled expression. Beside him, the sea soldier who was also watching the surrounding sea area also put down his binoculars and asked suspiciously, "What's wrong?" The sailor pointed to a ship way a little farther away. "Look over there." With doubts, the sea soldier on the other side picked up the binoculars and looked. Immediately afterwards, he saw that solitary ship lowering the flag that originally symbolized the belonging of the kingdom in front of him. A pirate flag with a skull painted on it was slowly raised. Witnessing all this, the sailor was stunned on the spot. What's going on here? In front of Marine, lower the flag that symbolizes the belonging of the kingdom and replace it with the pirate flag. It's like turning into a mouse in front of a cat. How to deal with it? Putting down the binoculars, Hai Bing looked confused. This is the first time they have encountered this situation. Another sailor hesitated for a moment after hearing the words. Let's report it first. How to deal with it, whether to start the fight directly, or to understand and communicate first, then it depends on the arrangement above. This ship said it was a civilian ship, and it was flying a pirate flag, saying that it was a pirate ship, and it didn't even have naval guns. It's really strange. After that, the sailor quickly left the watchtower on the mast sail. At the same time, on the ship that raised the pirate flag, Zhang Jie, Yigu Yutai, Obito, and Hungry Wolf are standing in front of the bow at the moment, looking at the marine officer who is cruising in a little distance. That should be our enemy. Hungry Wolf clasped his arms around his chest, his voice was peaceful. Zhang Jie nodded, affirming Hungry Wolf's statement. That's right, Marine is one of the strongest forces on this sea. They claim to be righteous and hunt down pirates on the sea. Hearing Zhang Jie's words, Yi Ji Yu Yutai couldn't help being stunned. Professing to be righteous, Zhang Jie said with a slight smile. Well, they can't go anywhere clean. Of course, there is still some justice, but it is of no use to us. Aside, under the mask, Obito narrowed his eyes slightly. Are you going to start our first battle with them? As soon as he heard that there was going to be a fight, Hungry Wolf immediately showed an excited grin on his face. Then let me deal with them. Just get used to it, this brand new power. However, just after Hungry Wolf finished speaking, Zhang Jie said with a smile. Don't worry, talk to them before starting the fight. Talk to them. Hungry Wolf wondered. Zhang Jie nodded with a smile, said nothing more, and looked quietly at the marine warship slowly approaching in this direction. Soon after, the marine warship approached. A middle-aged man wearing a marine coat and a long knife also slowly came to the bow of the warship and looked at Zhang Jie and others on the deck of the ship below. Who are you? Zhang Jie looked at the middle-aged man, and responded with a gentle smile on his face. Pirates. The middle-aged man was stunned for a moment when he heard the words. His expression was obviously a little stunned. So honest. Could it be a rebellious guy who ran out from some town? Can ordinary pirates be so calm when they see Marine? If they were real pirates, they would have run away long ago when they saw Marine, so why would they dare to wait for Marine to come over? Thinking of this, the middle-aged man took another look at Zhang Jie's boat. As stated in the report, the ship as a whole doesn't even have a single gun, and it's just a newly raised pirate flag. The scene in front of him made the middle-aged man feel that the group in front of him was a group of ignorant and rebellious teenagers. After a moment of silence, the middle-aged man put Zhang Jie's previous answer behind him and asked again. I'm asking for your name. Zhang Jie narrowed his eyes slightly, but the smile remained on his face. Zhang Jie. The middle-aged man asked again. Are you the captain? Yes, Zhang Jie affirmed. Did you run into any trouble? The middle-aged man asked with concern. This made Zhang Jie look at him twice more, and said meaningfully, it's not a trouble, it's just an unkind request. A ruthless request. What a ruthless request? The middle-aged man asked back. Zhang Jie's face remained the same, his smile was still so gentle, and he was still so harmless to humans and animals. Before I make my request, allow me to briefly introduce my crew. My name was already mentioned, so, Hunryu, Obito Yuta, Uchiha Obito. While speaking, Zhang Jie pointed to Hungry Wolf, Yiji Yu Yutai, and Obito in turn. Then he spread his hands politely and bowed slowly. We are all members of the pirates, and we would like to ask you to lend us your heads, so I have to trouble you to go to God's side for a while. Zhang Jie's sudden words stunned the middle-aged man on the spot. Not only the leading middle-aged man, but even the other Marines who were listening were also stunned. In the next second, there was a burst of laughter on the Marine warship. Ha 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 ha. Boy, do you know what you're talking about? Lend our heads for use. Are you trying to kill us? Not to mention that you only have 4 people, we have more than 200 people here, even if we fight you one by one, you are not our opponents. Ha 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 ha. Laughing one after another, all the sailors felt that Zhang Jie's words were so ridiculous. In their eyes, Zhang Jie was just like that idiot, speaking that inconspicuous big talk. Just the 4 of them. Just want to borrow the heads of all of them. Not to mention whether the naval guns on the warship agree or not, even the 200 or so people of myself can drown them with a single saliva. Boy, where did you come from? What are your parents' names? The middle-aged man in the lead smiled and leaned on the railing of the boat, looking at Zhang Jie with a smile and asking. However, even in the face of everyone's contempt and ridicule, Zhang Jie did not get angry at all. Raising his head slightly, Zhang Jie looked at the middle-aged man and said coldly. Except for him not to be killed, none of the others will be left. Be careful, don't hurt him, the news here needs to be passed back. It would be bad if he died on the way back because of his injuries. As soon as these words came out, the overlapping voices of Yigu Yuta, Obito and Hungry Wolf came out at the same time. Clear, it was also at the same moment when the voices of the 3 fell. Suddenly, an extremely powerful aura erupted from Yigu Yutai's body. Boom! Deafening roar resounded in all directions. Behind Yigu Yutai, the space is turbulent and distorted. In the next second, Lixiang's huge figure suddenly appeared from the distorted space. The huge body up to tens of feet is fully exposed. Lixiang spread her arms and roared to the sky, the sound resounded through the sky. Roar! A huge oppressive feeling that was so strong that it seemed to be suffocating instantly enveloped the surroundings. On the marine warship carrying more than 200 people, the original laughter stopped abruptly. The blood on his face faded away in an instant. Almost in the blink of an eye, the faces of all the sailors turned pale, and only boundless fear was left on their expressions. What is this thing? Is that a lie? This kind of thing, why? How did it appear here? The Marines yelled in horror. Zhang Jie, who reacted, was a little annoyed, and at the same time introduced with an apologetic face. Sorry, I forgot to introduce just now, this is also my crew member, named Lixiang. It's just that it's such a time now, how can anyone listen to Zhang Jie's introduction there? As soon as she appeared, Li Shang slapped Marine's warship fiercely. Shua! The huge slap came with the sound of howling and breaking wind. Those Marines couldn't even react, and were completely enveloped by black shadows. Then there was a loud bang. The bright red blood splashed out, and the deck of the warship collapsed, and even the whole ship trembled. Boom, boom. Also at the same moment, Hungry Wolf, Obito, and Obito Yuta leapt onto Marine's warship at the same time. Seeing this, Zhang Jie hurriedly reminded him. Be a little more restrained, don't ruin the boat. After finishing speaking, Zhang Jie also jumped onto the warship. At the same time, Hungry Wolf and the others galloped towards the sailors. Ha! Boom! The wind of the fist roared, and Hungry Wolf punched a Marine in the face. That terrifying and powerful force caused the Marine's entire face to collapse on the spot. Crack! Puff! Even though there were already casualties, the Marines still couldn't react. They were all like sandbags, they all stood there in a daze, watching the scene in front of them in horror. It all changed so fast. It was so fast that they were defenseless, and so fast that they couldn't react at all. Or maybe that boundless fear has overshadowed everything. Let them not even have the courage to take a step. A bloody, crushing massacre just started. An hour later. In a certain sea area, where the battle pirate group is located. Hey, Yigu, she's been down for so long, is she alright? On the deck of the ship, Hungry Wolf looked at the calm sea and asked with concern. Yigu Yutai turned his head when he heard the sound, looked at Hungry Wolf and said with a smile. It's okay, Lixiang can handle it. It was also the moment when Yigu Yutai's voice fell. The originally calm sea suddenly began to surge. Boom. Obito squinted his eyes and said lightly, I'm back. In the next second, Lixiang's huge figure rushed out of the sea. Boom, boom, a huge roar resounded. The aftermath caused by the rising of Lixiang caused waves of tens of feet above the original sea level. At the same time, it caused waves of huge waves up to several meters high. Boom, boom, boom. The raging waves beat on the boat one after another. It made the whole ship shake violently. But this mere turmoil has no effect on Obito and others. Seeing Lixiang come back, Yigu Yuta also showed a smile and said, "Thank you, Rika, Yutai." Lixiang's shout came out. At this time, Lixiang was holding an extremely huge fish in her hand. And this is obviously Lixiang's trophy. If Zhang Jie were here at this moment, he would definitely be able to recognize at a glance what kind of fish Li Shang was holding. That is the offshore overlord, the Sea Kings. Obito, who had never seen this fish before, asked questions. What kind of fish is this? But the hungry wolf on the side didn't seem to care about this, and shouted at Lixiang at the top of his voice. Hey, this fish is too big, just cut it in half. However, facing the cries of the hungry wolf, Li Shang simply ignored it. Just throw the whole Sea Kings over. Facing this sudden scene, Hungry Wolf shrank his pupils in shock, and shouted at Lixiang. Hey, you fool! Boom! In the cabin, I felt the violent turbulence of the ship again and again. Zhang Jie couldn't help raising his head, frowning. What, are they trying to break up the ship? With a soft murmur, Zhang Jie waited for a while. After finding out that there was no movement, I didn't bother to go up and see what happened. In the recent battle with Marine, Zhang Jie received more than 500 battle points. This is already quite rich. After all, what he got from the first battle of the kingdom was only worth more than 700. In contrast, Marine is still more cost-effective. However, this made Zhang Jie fall into another kind of doubt. Before, he felt that he had roughly figured out the mechanism of the system. But now it seems that the situation is somewhat different. If the reward is given according to the strength of the enemy, then the Marine they met this time was no better than those soldiers in the kingdom. After beheading so many troops in the kingdom, it only has more than 700 battle points. But this warship, with just over 200 people, has more than 500 battle points. Zhang Jie was deeply puzzled by this. But right now there are no clues, and I can't figure out why. I can only get rewards a few more times, and in the number of times, I have to explore the system mechanism a little bit. Without much hesitation, Zhang Jie started a new round of lucky draw. Battle value -800. Ding! Congratulations to host for summoning the conquerors from Hokage World Pain Tiandao. Ding! Pain Tiandao, conqueror ability extraction completed. Ding! Congratulations to host for successfully extracting the Conqueror's Pen Tiandao ability. Ding! Congratulations to host for acquiring the skill, Yuhu Zizai Technique. Ding! Congratulations to host for acquiring the skill, God Luo Tian Zheng. Ding! Congratulations to host for getting the skill, Universal Pull. Ding! Congratulations to host for acquiring the skill, Shangzuan Technique. Ding! Congratulations to host for acquiring the skill, Planetary Devastation. Host, Zhang Jie. Battle value 20. Item, none. Conqueror, Bone Yuta, Uchiha Obito, Hungry Wolf, Pain Tiandao. Lottery entrance close double angle bracket close double angle bracket. Hearing the series of prompts from the system, Zhang Jie couldn't help but froze for a moment. This is not quite right. Why are there so many abilities gained this time? Isn't every conqueror only able to extract one ability? Feeling his strange and familiar abilities, Zhang Jie couldn't help but fell into thinking again. The current situation is undoubtedly another subversion of the guessing results of the system. At the same time, in a certain sea area, a marine warship is slowly drifting on the sea level as the sea wind blows. On this huge warship, there was no sound at all, the silence was chilling. Just like the legendary ship of the dead. It's a pity that the sun is shining brightly in Sarada, and the whole sea area is clear and cloudless, which is not as good as the environment required by the ship of the dead. There are many potholes on the warship. Apparently there was a big fight. This can be seen at a glance from the corpses all over the deck of the warship. The bright red blood dyed the wooden floor on the deck bright red. So much so that the entire warship was filled with a disgusting smell of blood. Clap, clap. In a pool of blood, a middle-aged man wearing a marine coat and his whole body stained with sticky blood slowly got up. Feeling the quiet atmosphere around, breathing the strong and pungent bloody smell. The whole body of the middle-aged man trembled uncontrollably. Slowly raising his hand, he looked at the bright red bloodline in his hand. The pupils of the middle-aged man trembled violently like an earthquake. He raised his eyes and looked around. There were corpses and broken limbs all over the floor, and crimson blood spilled all over the deck. And these people, not long ago, had chatted and joked with themselves, or argued, or had dinner together, or worked together. But right now, they're dead, all dead. It was as if in the blink of an eye, they all died, leaving only myself alone. The eye sockets became red, and 2 lines of hot tears flowed from the corners of the eyes. At this moment, the middle-aged man could no longer suppress his emotions and burst into tears. Ah woo woo woo. On the other side, the ship where Zhang Jie and others were on also officially welcomed their new member, Tiandao Pain. Da, da, da. The sound of clear and steady footsteps echoed in the corridor. Zhang Jie in the room. After hearing the movement, he slowly raised his head. Coming. A thought arose in his mind. Zhang Jie got up and walked towards the door. Squeak. Following the soft knock of the wooden door, footsteps happened to stop beside the door. Immediately afterwards, the figure of Tiandao Pain came into Zhang Jie's eyes. If the people next to the table changed the table, Tiandao Pain's appearance was still a bit creepy. But for Zhang Jie, who knows everything, it's not a problem at all. If the nail sticks on Tiandao Pain's body are removed, Tiandao Pain's appearance is still good. Captain. Somewhat beyond Zhang Jie's expectation, Tiandao Pain took the initiative to say hello. Although the tone sounds a bit deserted, it is full of emotion, even if it is only indifferent. Some distractedly looked at Tiandao Pain for a while. Zhang Jie asked a seemingly nonsensical question. Are you Yahiko or Nagato? Tiandao Pain stared at Zhang Jie in silence for a while, and then responded leisurely. I'm Pain. Although the tone was still so cold, Zhang Jie already had the answer in his heart. With a smile on his face, Zhang Jie spoke. Understood, let's go. I'll take you to meet other members. After finishing speaking, Zhang Jie turned around and walked out of the cabin. Tiandao Pain also looked at Zhang Jie's back, and followed him slowly with a calm expression. Soon after, Zhang Jie and Tiandao Pain walked out of the cabin and came to the place where Obito and others were. The second floor of the ship. Squeak. As soon as the door is opened. Then Zhang Jie saw Obito, Hungry Wolf and Yi-Ji Yutai, serving plates of fish on the table. This scene obviously surprised Zhang Jie. But Obito, Yi-Ji Yuta, and Hungry Wolf did not see Zhang Jie's arrival, but said with a smile on their faces. Just now we were thinking of calling the captain, you are coming for dinner, it's just in time. Eat. Repeatedly, Zhang Jie subconsciously looked at the meat on the dinner plate. After hesitating for a moment, I sent Zhang Jie to ask. Is this fish? Hungry Wolf smiled and said, of course, this is a big fish that Li Shang went to catch. Zhang Jie nodded and changed the topic to business. This is the new crew member, Tiandao Pain. As for them. With that said, Zhang Jie is going to introduce Yigu Yuta, Obito, and Hungry Wolf to Tiandao Pain. But Tiandao Pain just spoke slowly. I know their names. Zhang Jie was greatly surprised. You know, the conquerors who have just been summoned know the names of other conquerors. System. Thinking about it, Zhang Jie looked at Obito and others again. Unexpectedly, Obito and others nodded their heads. We know that too. Hearing this, Zhang Jie couldn't help but shook his head with a smile. Okay, this will save me a lot and I'll introduce it later. After finishing speaking, Zhang Jie and Tiandao Pain walked towards the dining table. As soon as the two sat down at the dining table, Hungry Wolf brought out 2 plates of fish. After looking at the color and location of the fish, Zhang Jie asked in silence for a moment. This is grilled fish. What kind of fish is so big? The Hungry Wolf took another huge plate of fish. Hearing Zhang Jie's question, he thought for a while and then shook his head. This is grilled fish, but I don't know what kind of fish it is. Li Shang caught it back. After finishing speaking, Hungry Wolf placed the huge plate of fish in front of Yigu Yutai. Boom. Here, this is for Li Shang. This fish is due to her. Eat more and be full. I will rely on her to catch the prey in the future. After speaking, the hungry wolf turned around and returned to his seat. But Yi Guyutai was a little embarrassed. He hadn't had time to explain it clearly. Li Shang is a cursed spirit, doesn't need to eat. But Yi Guyutai thought about it carefully. Even though Lixiang is not necessary to eat, it does not mean that it cannot be eaten. It's always good to eat something delicious, right? Thinking of this, Yi Guyutai smiled and called softly towards the void. Sato, you too. Lixiang's figure slowly appeared. Mr. Hungry Wolf made grilled fish, do you want some? Yi Guyuta asked. Li Shang immediately turned to look at the hungry wolf. That appearance seems to reveal this little bit of dislike for hungry wolves. This made Hungry Wolf, who felt something, also look helpless. Hey, isn't it just a little thing? You don't need to hold grudges until now, right? Rika didn't say anything. After looking at the Hungry Wolf for a while, he reached out to grab the plate of grilled fish and then dived back. Immediately afterwards, there was a sound of gnawing in the void. Crack. After two chewing sounds emerged, the void fell silent. A smile appeared on Hungry Wolf's face. Looks like I have a good appetite, so I'll start it too. As he said that, the hungry wolf was also ready to eat the grilled fish. But at this moment, the void twisted again. With one arm, he grabbed a piece of grilled fish that had been bitten, and put it back into the delivery tray. Boom! This sudden scene attracted the attention of everyone present. Immediately afterwards, Li Zhang's figure poked out from the void again. As soon as he came out, Lixiang stared at the hungry wolf. Then he turned his head and spit out the grilled fish in his mouth like spitting. Pooh! Boom! The huge force even caused the spit-out grilled fish to smash a small hole in the wooden floor. Although Hungry Wolf felt helpless when he saw this, he didn't really care. Don't take your anger out on food, it's bad behavior to waste food. After that, the Hungry Wolf also took a bite of the grilled fish. But after chewing twice, the Hungry Wolf's body froze for a moment. Immediately afterwards, the mouth opened unconsciously, and the grilled fish inside also fell to the ground. Slap! Lixiang just stared at the hungry wolf like that, without saying anything. Seeing this, Zhang Jie at the side couldn't help but take a bite of the grilled fish. Immediately afterwards, almost like Li Shang, he spit out the grilled fish in one mouthful. Pooh! Slap! Almost at the same moment, Hungry Wolf and Zhang Jie both lowered their heads. Looking at the fish on the production plate in front of him, he fell into deep thought. Hungry Wolf. What kind of fish is this? Zhang Jie. No, I don't think it's a fish problem. Soon after, in the kitchen, Zhang Jie started cooking with a pot in one hand and a spatula in the other. One person cooks, 5 people eat, next time I have to find a cook on board. Zhang Jie muttered in his heart while busy cooking. Outside, Obito, Hungry Wolf, and Tiandao Pain were quietly waiting for the food to be served. And this also made Zhang Jie understand that finding a chef needs to be put on the agenda. It's okay that there are few people at the moment, only 4 or 5. The time spent and the required process will not be too much. When there are more people in the future, I can just stay in the kitchen all day and night without leaving. After lunch, you can start preparing dinner. After working for a long time, Zhang Jie brought the hot meal to the table. Although it's not that delicious, but at least it can be regarded as quite satisfactory, and I won't let myself question what the ingredients are after eating it. The day passed quickly. The next day, early morning, Zhang Jie woke up from his sleep, got up early and washed up, and then came to the deck. I wanted to enjoy some morning sunshine and Hefeng scenery. But helplessly, the stomach protested. Zhang Jie had no choice but to swear and make breakfast, and made a copy for the crew by the way. Before breakfast was ready, a group of crew members came over smelling the aroma. It's the smell of meat. Is it time for lunch? Hungry Wolf was a little puzzled. It's so good, I have something to eat when I wake up. Obito exclaimed. On the side, Yigu Yuta also echoed with a smile on his face. Yes. The captain cooked us food early in the morning, that's great. It was Heaven Pain, who just stood aside silently, didn't say anything, just looked at Zhang Jie calmly. He has already noticed that something is wrong with Zhang Jie's face. In the next second, Zhang Jie turned his head, looked at the crowd with a smile and said, Is Is it good for you? Don't you have to make a few human meals to repay me as a token of gratitude? With breakfast done, the farce ends here. A group of crew members sat around a table and began to eat breakfast. And Zhang Jie also understood that some things had to be planned. For example, the voyage and campaign planning. War and fighting are the main source of Zhang Jie's strength, but he can't beat those stinky fish and shrimp. In that case, the rewards obtained are not cost-effective. What does it mean to kill a chicken with a 40-meter-long knife? I took a day off yesterday, and now it's time to make arrangements for our future plans. As soon as Zhang Jie said this, everyone looked up at Zhang Jie. They understand that this is to talk about business. Glancing at the crew members who were focusing on themselves, Zhang Jie continued. Tell me first, where are you now? Which sea area are we in? Quiet. After Zhang Jie's words fell, the surrounding immediately fell into silence. Yigu Yuta, Obito and Hungry Wolf looked at each other with doubts in their eyes. This scene made Zhang Jie feel bad, and asked again. Which direction did we leave the kingdom of Norake? But Obito and others still looked at each other in blank dismay. This time, Zhang Jie couldn't hold back anymore, and asked anxiously. Who drives the boat? Hungry Wolf. I don't know. When the sail is lowered, it moves by itself. Zhang Jie. So, the boat has been drifting for 2 days. No one is steering. Yi Guyu hesitated for a moment and said, it seems, yes. Hearing this, Zhang Jie couldn't help falling into silence. Well, lost at sea now. I am unreliable, and the crew is even more unreliable. I blame myself for trusting them too much. Sure enough, there are specialties in the art industry, so if you want to fight them and sail, you have to find professionals. Thinking of this, Zhang Jie silently added in his heart that besides the chef, he also had to find a navigator. As for the helmsman, it depends. After all, it is not impossible for a navigator to also serve as the helmsman. The original plan was forced to be terminated under this oolong. Now, it's just a matter of luck, waiting to readjust the plan after landing. Time passed day by day. When everyone realized that they had lost themselves at sea, life suddenly became dull and boring. It's like there's no hope. Zhang Jie and others just read newspapers and fish every day. At the same time, I look forward to some ships passing by, or encountering islands or something. Unfortunately, things backfired. For several days, Zhang Jie and others did not encounter any ships or islands. The next day, the newspaper delivery gull came. Zhang Jie bought a newspaper skillfully as usual, then sat on the rail of the boat and started fishing. Not long after, Yigu Yuta, Obito, and Hungry Wolf all came over with fishing rods in hand. Sitting next to Zhang Jie, fishing together. Is there any interesting report today? Hungry Wolf said casually while looking at the sea with his chin in his hand. No, Zhang Jie responded as usual. Wow. Spreading out the newspaper, looking at the news reports on it, Zhang Jie lost interest. But right now there is nothing else to do except reading newspapers and fishing. Oh, when will this day be the end? I sighed in my heart. Suddenly, Zhang Jie caught a glimpse of a line of familiar words on the last page of the newspaper from the corner of his eye. Fighting pirates. Seeing this, Zhang Jie couldn't help being startled, and immediately regained his spirits. After looking carefully, Zhang Jie found that his name was really on it, and then said to Obito and others beside him. Now there is an interesting thing, we are on the wanted list. While speaking, Zhang Jie shook the newspaper in his hand. As for Zhang Jie's words, Hungry Wolf and the others lifted their spirits and said in surprise. Really? Zhang Jie looked at the newspaper in his hand. Impressively, there is a paragraph describing their crimes. Brutal massacre of all soldiers on a marine warship before fleeing, killing 211 Marines and 1 survivor. Just the next day, the surviving officer resigned from Marine and left Marine base. The captain of the battle pirates, Zhang Jie, offers a reward of 6 million Baileys. Hungry Wolf, a bounty of 3 million Baileys. Uchiha Obito, the bounty is 4 million berries. Yigu Yuta, the bounty is 3.5 million Baileys. Everyone, including Zhang Jie, fell silent the moment they saw the amount of the reward offered. After a while, Zhang Jie couldn't help but chuckled softly. This is really a huge bounty. Obito put away the fishing rod, looked at the reward amount of 4 million Baileys and couldn't help but said leisurely. The lives of those Marines are worth this price. Hungry Wolf narrowed his eyes slightly. I think it's necessary for us to let them get to know us again. Of course, I don't mean self-introduction. Zhang Jie put down the newspaper slowly, with the usual expression on his face. Yeah, come and visit me if you have a chance. The bounty offered is too low, so it's a bit untenable. After all, Zhang Jie threw out the bait and started fishing quietly. The days of peace and nothingness are repeated boring and boring. As time goes by, a few days seem to pass in the blink of an eye. At noon, somewhere above the sea, 2 warships flying the marine flag are escorting a group of pirates on their way back to the base. Ha, what a beautiful day. A woman with long blonde hair in a white marine coat stretched her waist and exclaimed. Also when her voice fell, beside her, a woman with short black hair and also wearing a white marine coat said with a smile. Tomorrow will be better. The blonde woman turned her head, nodded with a smile and said, yes. When we go back this time, we can usher in the long-awaited vacation. Colonel Jaina. As soon as the voice of the blonde woman named Jaina fell, a shout came from a distance. This made her turn her head subconsciously, and looked towards the source of the sound, the watchtower on the mast sail. But she didn't see the people on the observation deck. And after waiting for a while, there was no further message. This made her yell in confusion. What's up? Jaina's voice fell for a while, but there was still no response. At this time, the short-haired woman standing beside Jaina also clearly noticed the abnormality. It's not right, this is a bit weird. The two looked at each other, and they both walked out, trying to see the situation on the observation deck. It was also after they walked a certain distance. They finally saw the situation on the observation deck. At this moment, standing on the watchtower was no longer the marine soldier they knew well. It was a man wearing a white mask and a long blue trench coat. The original soldier on duty had long since died. The whole body was limp, and the man in the white mask was pinching his neck and holding it in his hand. As if aware of the eyes watching him from below, the masked man slowly turned his head and looked at Jaina and the others below. Before the masked man could speak, Jaina couldn't restrain her anger and shouted. Who are you? On the side, the woman with short hair. After seeing the figure of the masked man, a strong uneasiness suddenly emerged in his heart. Wait, Jaina, something is wrong with this guy, how did he get here? Jaina turned her head when she heard the sound, glanced at the short-haired woman and said. How else did you get here? You must have sneaked in secretly, trying to rescue your fellow pirates. Saying that, Jaina turned her head to look at the masked man on the observation deck. No matter what your purpose is, today, you are finished. You will pay the price you deserve for what you have done, my soldier, you will never die in vain. Jaina stared at the masked man on the watchtower, her tone full of anger. But that man didn't care about it at all. Looking at the dead marine soldier in his hand, he casually threw it down. Call out. Seeing this, Jaina's pupils shrank suddenly. In the next second, he quickly jumped up and caught the marine corpse dropped by the masked man. Boom! The figure fell steadily on the deck, and Jaina looked at the masked man on the observation deck with an even more angry expression. You fool! But the masked man just looked in another direction from afar. Jaina and the others were not taken seriously at all. Da 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 da. It was at this time that dense footsteps sounded. A large number of marine soldiers who heard the movement ran out with weapons in hand and gathered on the deck. Crack, crack, crack. Almost in the blink of an eye, all the sailors raised their guns. He aimed at the man in the white mask on the observation deck. At Jaina's command, they could beat the man in the white mask into a sieve. Slowly placing the corpse of the soldier in her hand on the ground, Jaina spoke with an extremely serious expression. You are the hero, it was you who discovered his infiltration. Don't worry, I won't let him escape, let alone let him rescue any of his companions. After all, Jaina stood up abruptly, and waved her hand in the direction of the observation deck. Fire! The sailors who heard the order didn't hesitate at all, and they all snapped at the man in the white mask. Bang! 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 For a moment, flames burst out on the deck, and the deafening sound of bullets fired continuously. The dense bullets, like raindrops, flew towards the masked man on the observation deck. Shish! 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 Shua! Shua! But when the man in the white mask faced the rain of bullets in front of him, the body didn't move at all. He just stood there quietly, letting the bullets fly. Bang, 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 intensive and continuous hitting sound bursts. The observation deck where the masked man stood was almost sieved by the Marines. But the masked man stood there unscathed. All the bullets that came into contact with his body penetrated directly through his body as if they had hit the air. Seeing this sudden scene, everyone present was stunned. The sailors subconsciously put down the spears in their hands, and said with disbelief on their faces, "No, isn't it? Missed. With such a dense attack, he failed to hit him once. Are you kidding me? Did he avoid it? But I can clearly see that he has been standing in the same place the whole time, and he hasn't moved. Cheat. A lie, right?" All the Marines swallowed with some difficulty, and their words were a little awkward. This is really weird. So much so that their pupils contracted uncontrollably and sharply, and their faces were full of unbelievable expressions. Even Jaina and the short-haired woman beside her, after seeing this scene, the pupils also contracted for a while, and he opened his mouth with a look of horror. How is this possible? At this time, the masked man also withdrew his gaze from a distance, and looked at Jaina and the others below. He narrowed his eyes slightly, one red and one purple, quietly staring at Jaina and said, "Rescue your companions. Have you misunderstood something? We are here to solve you." The masked man's voice just fell. On the sea on the side of the two warships, there was a loud noise suddenly. Boom. Huge waves were stirred up in response, and Li Zhang's figure also appeared in response. Roar. A deafening roar resounded throughout the sea area. In the next second, without any hesitation, Li Shang suddenly punched the marine warship. Shoo buzz. The huge fist struck with the sound of howling and breaking the wind. Seeing this, all the Marines on the warship were shocked, and their pupils shrank uncontrollably. However, they haven't waited for their reaction. Li Zhang's huge fist hit the warship hard. Boom, boom. With just one blow, Lixiang pierced through the two warships with one punch, and the two warships were interrupted in the middle. Boom. The scorching and dazzling flames emerged with earth-shattering explosions. Countless Marines were shrouded in flames on the spot, and many more were directly blown away by the fire waves generated by the explosion. Boom boom. Ah! All of a sudden, there were wailing sounds. But it was only an instant before it was covered by the sound of flames and explosions. Boom boom boom. The two warships turned into 4 warships. The blazing fire was burning, and countless Marines left this world before they even realized what happened. After finishing the work, Lixiang decisively called off work and returned. Obito, on the other hand, walked through the burning warship, looking for the main target of this operation. This target is not a specific person, but a living person. It doesn't matter what military rank the opponent is, or whether the opponent is male or female, whether the opponent is dead or alive. As long as Obito meets people who are still alive and cannot die, Obito will pull them into the Kamui space and take them away. 5. Shouldn't that be enough? Obito murmured to himself looking at Marine lying on the floor. But after thinking about it, he casually picked up 2 Marines who were still panting and sucked them into the Kamui space. Then he left the sea of flames. On the other side, where the battle pirates are, Zhang Jie and others stood on the deck of the ship, looking at the marine warship with dazzling flames in the distance. Is this the end? Hungry Wolf wondered. As soon as his words fell, Obito's figure suddenly appeared on the deck of the ship. I'm back. Yi Ji Yu Yutai responded first. Thank you, Mr. Obito. Zhang Jie also asked aloud. Has anyone brought it back? Obito nodded. Of course, not to mention that this is something you specifically ordered, Captain. They are still the key to our way to Kaido. Saying this, the space in front of Obito distorted. Immediately afterwards, the 7 people who were pulled into the Kamui space by Obito were released by him. Plop, plop. The 7 people lay down on the ground in a pile. Hungry Wolf was puzzled. Dead. Zhang Jie responded instead. If you're alive, go fetch buckets of water and wake them up. Snapped. A bucket of water was poured over, and the 7 people who were brought back shuddered immediately. Woke up from a coma. Ha, ha, ha. They greedily breathed in the air, apparently still a little shocked, or in other words, unable to react to the situation in front of them. At this time, Zhang Jie was already holding a stool, sitting in front of the 7 people, and said, "Okay, let's cut the long story short, I'm going to any of your marine bases, it doesn't matter which base it is." It was also Zhang Jie's questioning voice. 5 men and 2 women, and 7 Marines also came back to their senses. However, they did not immediately answer Zhang Jie's words. Instead, he took the lead in looking around. Soon, they noticed the pirate flag flying high on the ship. This is a pirate ship. Wearing a white marine coat, the woman with the rank of colonel was shocked. "And she is Jaina." After briefly confirming the place, Jaina responded to Zhang Jie's question. "Are you a pirate? A pirate goes to Marine's base. Are you going to die?" After speaking, Jaina began to observe her own state again. "They didn't tie us up. So confident in their own strength. Do you think we can't pose a threat to them at all?" While Jaina's thoughts were ups and downs, Zhang Jie had responded calmly. "Why do you ask so many questions? Take us there, you can live. If you don't take us, then you will die. Choose one of the 2. Jaina looked around calmly, then looked at Zhang Jie and said, "Are you the boss here? Does what you say count?" Quietly watching Jaina's small movements, Zhang Jie smiled meaningfully and narrowed his eyes slightly. "Of course, but if you resist and get killed, you can't say that I don't count." Hearing that Zhang Jie admitted that he was the captain, Jaina felt a little relieved. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, including the captain, there are only 5 people in total. That masked man is a bit dangerous. However, should I say that you are arrogant or confident? The captain is less than 2 meters away from me. Do you really think we will be captured without a fight? The man in the mask is 6 meters away from their captain, and the nearest others are also 4 meters away. If I can catch him before they do, then the right to speak will be in my hands. A distance of 2 meters, in time. 7 to 5, the odds are not small. With the abacus in her mind finalized, Jaina turned her head to look at the short-haired woman beside her. Just looking at each other, the short-haired woman immediately understood what Jaina wanted to do. In the next second, both women nodded slightly in a subtle way. Immediately afterwards, the short-haired woman and Jaina suddenly jumped up and rushed towards Zhang Jie. Whoosh! However, it was also the moment when the 2 of them took action. Tian Daopei and Yi Ji Yu Yutai made moves immediately. In just a split second, the 2 suddenly appeared in front of Jaina and the short-haired woman. Facing this sudden scene, both Jaina were shocked. But at this time, it was too late. Without the slightest hesitation or pause, Yi Ji Yu Yutai swept his sword and hit Jaina directly in the abdomen. Boom! The dull beating sound echoed. Jaina snorted, and flew out directly, hitting the railing of the boat heavily. Boom! Cough! Big mouthfuls of bright red blood were coughed up by him. At this moment, Jaina only felt that her internal organs seemed to be shattered, and the pain was unbearable. On the other side, facing the short-haired woman of Tian Daopei, she was not so lucky. In the face of battle, Tian Daopei will not be as kind and soft as Yi Ji Yu Yutai. Buzz! As a soft sound echoed, Tian Daopei reached out and made a move. A black stick slipped out of his cuff immediately, and he held it in his palm. Immediately afterwards, he held the black stick without hesitation, and stabbed the short-haired woman in the chest with one blow. Chila! The swarthy black stick pierced through the short-haired woman's chest on the spot, piercing the heart along with it. And suspended her whole body in the air. Puff! Warm and viscous blood flowed out unstoppably. The short-haired woman's eyes were bloodshot and red. In the next second, a large amount of blood flowed out of her mouth and nose uncontrollably. Cough! Crash! A large puddle of blood was coughed up by him. The short-haired woman firmly grasped Tian Daopei's arm that pierced her chest with a black stick, and spoke hoarsely with an unwilling face. "It's. You want to die like this? You have to. No, no." Before she finished speaking, the hands of the short-haired woman slipped down powerlessly and drooped. The head also hangs down. It all happened very quickly, and it ended very quickly. The whole process took only 3 or 4 seconds, and even the rest of the Marines hadn't realized what was going on. And Tian Daopei faced the short-haired woman he killed. His expression didn't change at all from the beginning to the end. Emotions have not changed at all. There is only boundless indifference, indifference to enemies and even to life. After being beaten by Yi Guyuda, Jaina looked up and saw her friend who died tragically. At this moment, her mind was like being blasted by 5 thunders. In an instant, it fell into a blank. No. No. It won't, it won't. Looking at the body of the short-haired woman who was still bleeding blood, Jaina couldn't stop shedding 2 lines of tears. Even though the facts were right in front of her eyes, she still couldn't believe that the scene in front of her was real. She didn't even understand why things didn't change like this. They are so far away from Zhang, why did they suddenly appear? And the speed was so fast that they had no time to react. It was also when Jaina was lost and confused, Zhang's regretful voice came over. Oh, it's a pity, it's just a little bit short of you being able to catch me. Jaina was slightly taken aback when she heard the words, and looked up subconsciously. But in the next moment, she saw Zhang's ironic smile. The pupils shrank uncontrollably. At this moment, Jaina finally understood that the guy in front of her was playing tricks on herself. Let yourself see the vain hope. And then ruthlessly destroy the hope that never existed at all. You, nasty fool. Zhang stood up slowly, with a slightly helpless expression. I'm bad, isn't it? I've already warned you, it's just that you didn't take it seriously. After finishing speaking, Zhang didn't go to see Jaina either. Instead, he looked at the 5 Marines who had not moved, and said with a smile. Now I just need an answer. One is that you can take me there, you can live. The other one is that you can't take me there, you have to die. You can only answer yes or no. Come on, answer me. At the end of the conversation, there was no smile on Zhang's face. While the Marines were still hesitating, Jaina, who was not far away, suddenly spoke hoarsely. I can take you there, but I need their help, you can't kill them. As soon as these words came out, everyone present turned their heads and looked at Jaina. I couldn't tell for a while, do you want to protect them, or you want to protect yourself? But, it doesn't matter to me either. After all, Zhang's attention stopped lingering on the Marines. And Tiandao Pain also threw the short-haired woman's body into the sea casually. Jaina, who was not far away, watched this scene, her teeth were almost gritted with hatred. At this moment, she looked at Tiandao Pain with hatred in her eyes. But she has not lost her mind to the point where she is going to die. It was also when Zhang was about to board the shipbuilding that Jaina suddenly spoke again. Since you are going to Marine's branch base blatantly, tell me why you are going. It shouldn't be a secret, right? Listening to Jaina's inquiry, Zhang, who was stepping on the wooden steps to the shipbuilding, paused slightly. Immediately afterwards, he turned his head slowly and replied with a smile on his face. It's really not a secret thing, but if you ask why we are going, I think it should be because I like war. After speaking, Zhang turned around and continued to walk towards the restaurant on the 2nd floor of the ship. When Jaina heard this answer, she froze in place. Immediately afterwards, her face changed drastically, and she stared at Zhang's back with a solemn expression on her face. This guy, not for any companion, not for any enemy, just for war. Is it because I like war that I want to go to Marine's branch base? This guy, is he trying to attack Marine base? Just 5 of them. Is he crazy, or am I crazy? The pupils trembled violently like an earthquake. Jaina's face was full of unbelievable horror. Nerves were beating violently, and her instinct was telling her. These people are dangerous, especially thoughts, extremely dangerous. If they are allowed to survive, then the sea may become even more chaotic. Even the overlord of the sea wouldn't be idle to attack Marine's base, would he? On the other side, Zhang checked his property panel again. Host. Zhang. Battle value, 402. Item, none. Conqueror. Bone Yuta, Uchiha Obito, Hungry Wolf, Pain Tiandao. Lottery entrance close double angle bracket close double angle bracket. Looking at the combat value he currently possesses, Zhang is puzzled. In this battle, he only got more than 300 battle points. It is even less than the combat value obtained after the last battle with Marine. This time we fought at once, but 2 Marine warships. Well, Zhang couldn't help but sighed softly. I don't understand the reward mechanism. Sometimes it is more than expected, and sometimes it is less. What is the key point? With that said, Zhang opened the lottery page. The price of one lottery draw above has already reached 1600 once. This is obviously a mechanism where the price will double every time you draw it. However, Zhang Jie didn't feel any annoyance at the system's doubling of prices. Just a little anxious. According to this rate of increase, it won't be long before it will exceed 10,000. Conquest value. War. Indispensable. With a few marine prisoners, the life of Zhang Jie and others became easier. Almost all chores can be assigned to marine captives. And this made Zhang Jie understand again the importance of having a handyman on board. With a course, there is a sailor. Zhang Jie and others also got rid of the plight of being lost in the sea. And it is heading towards the Marine Branch base guided by Jaina and others. The next day, in the morning, on the ship of the pirate group, Jaina and the others stayed silently on the deck, looking at the sea scenery with empty eyes. Of course, this is not Zhang Jie asking them to only stay on deck. On the contrary, they are very free. They can go wherever they want. Zhang Jie will not restrain them. Whether he will die because of this is unknown. It was at this time that a marine's body suddenly froze. Immediately afterwards, he rubbed his eyes vigorously and looked in one direction. After a while, he lowered his voice a little excitedly. Colonel Jaina, Colonel Jaina, then look over there. Jaina looked up at the sound. Immediately afterwards, she saw a warship flying the marine flag in the distance. This scene immediately cheered Jaina up. Without saying a word, Jaina pressed her hand at the sailor. Don't make a sound, we just pretend we didn't see it, they will find this ship. Marines and pirates are at odds with each other. If Marine discovers the pirate ship, then Marine will undoubtedly come to catch the pirates. At that time, the two sides are bound to have a battle. And this is the hope that they can get rid of control. Thinking of this, Jaina couldn't help but subconsciously look at the watchtower on the ship's mast. The retribution of your blind confidence is coming soon. There isn't even a person on duty. Do you really think we will report to you after we see Marine? Wait, you will also experience the suffering I have experienced. In Jaina's heart, she always felt that the reason why she was captured was entirely caused by her own carelessness. If she could have reacted immediately, she was still a little confident that she could organize her strength to block that monster's fist. Afterwards, relying on his own two warships, it was a breeze to deal with this pirate ship that didn't even have a naval gun. At the same time, on a marine warship a little far away, a middle-aged man with short silver-white hair and a big cigarette dangling from his mouth was sitting on the railing of the boat dully. I don't know what I'm thinking about. Also at this time, a woman wearing glasses and a long knife on her waist slowly came to the side of the middle-aged man. After being silent for a while, the woman spoke cautiously. Are you still worried about the Straw Hat Kid? The middle-aged man froze for a moment, turned his head to look, and after seeing the speaker clearly, he reacted. Tashigi. Tashigi smiled, but didn't answer. The middle-aged man with short silver-white hair in front of him is a well-known general in Marine. Holder of the Logia smoke fruit, Colonel Marine, Smoker. After a brief silence, Smoker spoke slowly. It's not all right, I'm still thinking about some other things. Tashigi nodded thoughtfully when he heard the words, but didn't ask any further questions. After a long pause, Smoker added another sentence. However, I'm still a bit unwilling to let them escape. Da da da. The sound of hurried footsteps suddenly came from behind. Both Smoker and Tashigi turned their heads to look at the same time. Then I saw a sailor coming to the front quickly, saluting and reporting. Colonel Smoker, pirates have been spotted on the right side of the warship. Smoker narrowed his eyes slightly when he heard this, exhaled a puff of thick smoke and asked. Which pirate group is it? The sea soldier who reported was silent for a moment, then shook his head. I don't know, let's just say it's a new pirate group. Leaping off the rail, Smoker strode toward the starboard side of the warship. He is going to see what the other party's ship and the other party's pirate group look like. Seeing Smoker move, Tashigi and the sailor quickly followed. How many are there? Smoker asked aloud. The sea soldier replied truthfully. The exact number of people is unknown, only a few figures were seen hurrying past on the deck. Judging from the size of the ship, there may be no less than 20 people on board. Is that so? Smoker replied calmly. At this time, he had come to the right side of the warship, and saw the pirate group a little far away. And that's exactly what Zhang Jie and others are fighting against the pirates. It was also when Smoker discovered Zhang Jie et al. Zhang Jie also sensed their existence, and it is clear that they are rapidly approaching in their direction. Inside the cabin, Zhang Jie raised his head slowly, and spoke calmly with a smile on his face. There are guests coming. At the same moment, Yoda Odo, Tendo Pain, Hungry Wolf, and Obito also sensed something approaching. With Zhang Jie's words, they were even more sure. Is it Marine? Yoda Odo asked. Zhang Jie stood up slowly. If there is no accident, it should be. Although other pirate groups, after discovering other pirate ships, will quickly approach and think about plundering them. But the probability of this kind of thing happening is still not as high as that of Marine. Let's go. Go and greet this guest from afar. Zhang Jie and others walked out of the cabin and came to the deck of the ship. The Marine warship that was approaching them quickly came into their sight. It's really Marine, and there are quite a few of them. Hungry Wolf whispered with a smile on his face. In the rear, Jaina and the others no longer hid. He walked out slowly and appeared behind Zhang Jie and the others. As for Zhang Jie, he just turned his head and glanced at them, not caring what they were doing. He knew very well that Jaina and the others avoided it on purpose. I also deliberately didn't tell them that Marine was coming. Because in their view, this warship is a hope that can destroy themselves. How could they bury their hopes with their own hands? In fact, it was exactly what Zhang Jie thought in his heart. Seeing Zhang Jie and others coming out of the cabin, Jaina's eyes were full of regret. It's obviously a group of C's, what luck. Since they all happened to come out like this, they happened to discover Marine's approach. If I had discovered them earlier, I wouldn't have fallen into this situation, right? Regarding the situation where they knew that Marine was coming, but did not inform Zhang Jie and others. Jaina is not worried at all that Zhang Jie will settle accounts with them. They came out after Zhang Jie came out. Afterwards, Zhang Jie questioned them, and they could also say that they didn't know that Marine was coming. Although this is a bit self-deceiving, ordinary people can spot problems at a glance. But it is undoubtedly a good argument and excuse. On the Marine warship, Tashigi held a telescope and observed the situation on the boat of Zhang Jie and others. There seems to be a lot of people. Smoker at the side took a deep puff of the big cigarette, slowly exhaled a burst of thick smoke, and calmly answered. Of course, the size of that ship is not small, how could there be fewer pirates on it? Beside Smoker, an officer wearing Marine costume hesitated for a while and asked. The opponent's hull seems to have no naval guns. Now that they have entered the range of the naval guns, should we lean in or directly bombard them? Of course it was shelling. Smoker responded without hesitation, and then added, it would be easier to sink them with their boats. I don't want to have any mishaps in the middle and let them slip away. The officer nodded immediately upon hearing the words and responded, understood. Quickly leaving Smoker's place, the Marine officer greeted him loudly. Quick, ready for shelling. The sailors, who had already been prepared, immediately loaded the shells into the barrel after hearing the order. Rumble. The naval guns all turned around and aimed at the ships that locked Zhang Jie and others. Waiting for the naval guns to be ready. The officer raised his voice and waved his hand. Fire. Bang, bang, bang. The continuous loud noise resounded, and the muzzle shot out a dazzling flame. The dense rain like cannonballs flew towards the boat of Zhang Jie and others with that sharp whistling sound. Shish, 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 shish. At the same time, on the ship of the pirate group. Seeing that the rain-like shells were about to fall, Jaina was slightly startled, and hurriedly greeted the sea soldiers beside her. Get out of the way. A group of sea soldiers did not dare to delay. Hastily spread out towards the surroundings. But soon, Jaina noticed something was wrong. Why are those people not doing anything? Strange thoughts arose in her heart, and Jaina couldn't help but feel the curiosity in her heart, and turned her head to look in the direction of Zhang Jie and others. When she saw the calm expressions of Zhang Jie and others, Jaina froze in place. What do they want to do? Such dense shells cannot be intercepted by just 5 people. Avoiding is the wisest choice. What are they trying to do? Jaina felt very puzzled in her heart. But then, she suddenly remembered the idea of going to Marine base that Zhang Jie and others had mentioned. Lenovo is now approaching the shells, and they still look calm and motionless. Another ridiculous idea suddenly appeared in Jaina's mind. Could it be that they really looking for death? If this is the case, then what did they do to people like themselves, and for what? Since they are all looking for death, since they are all Marines. So why can't they let themselves kill? Jaina's thoughts kept rising and falling. But in the next second, she found that Zhang Jie and the others had moved. I saw the man who killed his best friend, wearing a long black windbreaker with red auspicious clouds embroidered on it, slowly raised his head. Those purple eyes with black rings stared at the shells in the sky. After a while, I saw him wave his sleeves. Buzz. A piercing hum suddenly appeared. A powerful and invisible force immediately flew towards the cannonballs that filled the sky. At the same time, there was a strong storm. Boom. 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 Only in the blink of an eye. The cannonballs all over the sky exploded together. There was a loud bang. Boom. The thick smoke engulfed by the dazzling flames diffused. But after the fire dissipated, the thick black smoke still lingered in the air for a long time. Jaina, who witnessed this scene with her own eyes, was stunned at the moment. The pupils are shrinking slightly. At this moment, there was no doubt in her eyes anymore, only the expression of incredible horror. Is that a lie? There are so many, such dense shells, and he was knocked out by him with such an easy raising of his hand. This guy, how did he do it? With so many shells, let alone myself, even if there are 2 more. I dare not say that I can take all of them. And that guy, with just a casual lift, destroyed all the shells in an instant. What are you kidding? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.